What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode and live stream of Let's Get Nuts here on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back, guys. We have a fun show for you today because, of course, it's Revenge of the 5th. We've had some crazy Hot Toys Star Wars news out over the last week that I can't wait to talk to my guys on the panel about today. But I've also got some fun warm-ups. I want you guys to look around your collection space. What are the 3 figures for you guys, and you can let us know in the chat, that you would want an autograph from the actor on? And what's the 1 figure in your collection that you would destroy? I'm eager to hear what the warm-up questions look like for that and the answers. So guys, stick around today for a fun show. If you like the show, hit the like button if you can. Subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, of course. And let's get nuts.
What are you doing? You're completely outnumbered here. Are you nuts? You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Alrighty, so we have a unique panel today. Some guys we haven't seen in a little while. Classy Thomas had to take the day off. He needed his classy rest, so Classy will not be with us today. But I do want to start off with somebody who is distant from me but close at heart. Mr. Pete from Only Fools in Collecting, a division of Collecting Weekly. Good to have you back, buddy. How are you doing?
Hi, Ben. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks to inviting me again. Kind of last minute jump in, but I thought, we haven't got any work tomorrow. We've got a bank holiday here tomorrow, so
nice.
Yeah, let's come and join the guys. Yeah, and happy Star Wars weekend to everybody.
Heck yeah, dude. Happy Star Wars weekend to you. You look like you're very ominous today. There's a very dark background. We got Pete here from the British Batcave.
Yeah, well, I'm decorating my collection room, so at stroke home cinema. So that is the back wall. So it's not black, but it's a very dark grey. So there's nothing on the walls at the moment. Just putting the flooring in this weekend. So it'll be kind of getting it all back into place tomorrow. And then I'm going to order up some new cabinets. And so all the figures are all boxed up at the moment. So it's going to be quite difficult. I'm trying to visualise my collection and what autographs I'd like based on your questioning. So
hell yeah. Are you going to do a collection tour, do you think, once it's all
absolutely set up? Absolutely. I've been meaning to do one for years, and I thought, well, I'll wait till this is done because I'm going to have a lot more display space than I had before. So yeah.
Heck yeah, sorry, hit the wrong button. That's awesome, dude. I can't wait to see that. Thanks for being here, by the way, Pete. Guys, just so you're aware, there's a CaliCon going on for other collectors and YouTubers right now. If you guys are watching, hello, I'm jealous that I'm not there hanging out with you guys. But it meant that almost nobody could join the panel today. So this was almost a very solo nut show with just me. So the fact that Pete was able to jump in was definitely awesome. And my next guest here, who you may have recognized him from past live streams on Let's Get Nuts. You also may recognize him from over on the Vintage Rebellion podcast. We got Chris here with us today, and I'm so happy you're here, dude, because we got a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about today, and I think you're one of my at least expert panelists on the Star Wars side that I've had in the past. Good to have you back, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, man. Yeah, I always have fun on Let's Get Nuts, and I thought I would take a little break from chirping about how bad Disney Star Wars is in the CW Patreon chat to come do it over here.
Dude, 100%, dude. And you've got a link that you shared with me today as well that I'm going to actually show at the end of the show. So if you guys are watching on replay or in the live chat with us now, make sure you stick around to the end because it's a pretty cool piece of Star Wars, I want to say news, but also listening that I think is going to be really important to catch on to. So stick around to the end of the show for that.
Good to see you, Chris.
Hey.
Nice to stream with you again, mate. And could I just point out here that I have got hair. It's just that it's so dark. I look a little bit like Lane Kramer sitting here, and
yeah, well,
it's just that
basically Pete has seen things since the last episode of OFAC. It's just been a rough little while.
Yeah. I am in the void, but I'm working my way out.
Hell yeah, dude. Pete has hair. It is confirmed. Guys, Thank you so much for rolling in here. We already got 21 folks in the chat. We will obviously say hi to everybody here pretty shortly, but of course I always want to get started at least with a warm-up as everybody's slow. I highlighted the warm-up today at the beginning in the preview, but this photo popped up this week, and this is of course Donnie Yen, and he's sitting there with his Hot Toys figure, and I think this is so cool because I always love seeing the actors kind of response to their own figure. Like if I was ever famous, which let's be honest, I'd have to get a lot more nutty on this show to get ever famous. But if I ever get famous, it'd be so cool to have like a 6-scale version, I think, of myself, because I would just be over the moon about it. And we've seen X06 give their figures to some of the actors and see their reactions, but I don't feel like Hot Toys does it honestly enough, considering the brand power that they actually have. And I saw this photo as well, and this is of course his signature right on the Hot Toys box. So it made me think about my own collection. Like if there was a list of figures in here that I would want an autograph from, obviously it would be every character in my collection. But if I had to narrow it to 3, when I look around, and this is cheating a little bit, but I would have wanted a Christopher Reeve signature on my Superman, because for me Chris Reeve is always going to be Superman in my heart. That's what I grew up with, and as much as I love Henry Cavill and all the others, Christopher Reeve is definitely the top one.
Absolutely.
And then I think then when I look around my Doc Brown, a Christopher Lloyd signature I would love to have as well. Back to the Future, Star Trek, and so many other things. Even as far as like the Page Master. I don't know if you guys ever watched that movie back in the day, the animated one, but he was in that as well, one of the voice actors, and I just love Christopher Lloyd. And then lastly, despite all of the amazing characters that I have in here and actors, I would be between Hugh Jackman and Mark Hamill for my third pick. So you guys let me know in the chat what you would think would be a better third, Mark Hamill or Hugh Jackman. I love Hugh Jackman, but I also love Mark Hamill, not only just as Luke Skywalker, but also his interpretation of the Joker. So Pete, if you were to look around your collection room in the dark here, who would be your top 3 signatures for you, if there's anything left in that room?
They're all in boxes opposite me, and I can't see anything. I think this paint is working. It's meant to have a 3% gain on it, and it is black as hell, even though it's grey. Well, as you've already set the precedent that it can be people that are no longer with us, then I will go with the big 3: Harrison, Mark, and Carrie. Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford. Yeah, they're figures from the A New Hope. Absolutely.
Hell yeah,
it'd be amazing.
That would be amazing to have that that piece, right?
Yeah.
So and rest in peace to any of the folks that are of course not with us anymore, because of course they clearly made an amazing, huge impact in our lives. And our nostalgia punch in the chest that I always talk about, right? So
I absolutely worship the original trilogy, and they've just shaped so much of my life. And A New Hope is just beyond words. And I love those representations of those characters. So yeah, definitely those 3.
Hell yeah, dude. Chris, same question. Top 3 signatures you would want in your collection at this point?
Yeah. Pete's speaking my language, man. It's like really there's such a short list of things that are worthy of doing that. Like I'm a little bit weird with autographs. Like I do see a lot of people getting figures signed, like when I collect the vintage Kenner stuff, and I don't really see much of a connection between that stuff and the actors, because like they didn't really have much to do with it, didn't really look like them that much, but maybe sure. I mean, like the odd thing with the Kenner figures, like I have a couple examples here. Like this is like a old Han Hoth, right? At least that's got a picture of Harrison Ford on it, so it's not the worst thing for him to sign. Maybe something like that. And then like I have a couple modern ones, like some TVC or retro collection stuff. This I got signed by Jim Swearingen, who made the prototype Boba Fett figure. So that's pretty cool. That's like related to the toy rather than an actor, right?
That's amazing.
But like but I mean, you can't go wrong with the big 3 from the original trilogy. That'd probably be a safe bet on 12 backs. If you wanted to waste some $2,000 12 backs by putting autographs on them, that'd be a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm loving Shiny's comment here. I don't want a signature. I want Harrison Ford to break some of my Hot Toys.
He would
Which
gladly do it.
Which is interesting you
Yeah.
mentioned that, because the next slide I actually have here for you, Shiny, is Harrison Ford doing just that. And to tag on to that warm-up question of what ones would you want a signature from, if you were forced to break one figure in your collection, what figure would that be? And this was a hard question actually for me, and I feel like I'm going to catch some hate.
Very odd one, Ben.
Right? I know, but I was like, look at this guy. Look how happy he was to destroy this figure. You hate to see it. So, like, what would be the one figure you could be like, I could get rid of that today and destroy it on camera? I honestly think for me, oh, it's so hard to choose. It's so hard to choose, guys. I think I would have to go... Honestly, it's the stuff that hits my bottom shelf the fastest. And while I love the actress, Katie Sackhoff, I actually think I would take out my Bo-Katan. I know it's horrible to say on Revenge of the Fifth, but I think I would take out the Bo-Katan, which would still absolutely destroy me because that's a beautiful figure, so don't let me hate on it too much.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Pete? What would be one that you could allow yourself to
I was
look
just
this
thinking
happy
about
destroying?
that. And a lot of my collection is very themed Star Wars, 80s, Indiana Jones stuff. But there's one figure that's kind of a standalone. I bought him. I do like the movies. I like the franchise. I thought the figure is really cool. It's a cool figure, but I don't have any real sort of love or passion for it. So I could destroy it if I had to, and that would be Pennywise from the Hot Toys. Pennywise from the I think it's from part 1 or part 2, but it's a nice figure. But as I say, there's no real connection there. So yeah, that would be the one that I would snap in half if I had to.
And shortly after, your house would 100% be haunted, and you'd be screwed.
Well, you take that risk, yeah.
you take the risk.
Yeah,
Chris,
yeah,
again, it's a hard question, but it's a warm-up question. If you had to destroy one in the collection,
All right,
what would it
it's
be?
a weird question, and it's going to get a weird answer, and I'm not going to elaborate on this, even if you ask me to do it.
Sounds
But-
good.
But if I had to destroy one figure in my collection, it would be this vintage Canadian Bosk. And the reason is because the guy I bought it from is now in jail for some heinous stuff.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And that's about it. And I wouldn't destroy it. I'd just open it so I'd have a nice mint loose figure.
A mint loose figure. Fair enough. There you go. Well, honestly, when it comes to those old school counter packaging, that is kind of, in a sense, really destructing it, right? Or giving it the destroy. So
Yeah, it goes from a few $100 to $20. Yeah.
hard question, guys. Definitely a hard question, but thank you for humoring me on that, of course. I do want to check in with the chat because we almost have 30 people already.
Wow.
Already here with us. And yes, I wanted to highlight this list. Thank you so much to everybody who's become a channel member so far, part of the Tough Nut crew. We got Alvin J collecting weekly money, Mendes, 6 Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures, King Dingling, Sith Scale Collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Canon, 1/6 Figure Focus, SpongeBob Square Balls, The _ Empire Strikes, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, who I snubbed a couple weekends ago because I didn't get to see him at a con, and I feel horrible about it. So if you're watching, sir, I love you. I love you. Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Stream, Collection Obsession, Blair Dad Life, Danny Spotchka, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neilerific, Action Figure Academy, Don Maton, Kenneth Jacobson, Cylon, Adrian Cervantes, and Christian Cooper. Guys, if you're interested in becoming part of the Tough Nut crew, the link is there in the chat below. Of course, just your support watching the show week over week is also enough for me, but anything that I do get from the channel membership goes towards giveaways and all of the things. Honest Hansel was the last channel member who won the 6 Scale King Shark in the duck race. We're getting close to, I think on the channel here, we're almost at 4,500 subscribers already, so I am going to do another channel giveaway at 5K. So stay tuned for that as well, guys. But of course, it wouldn't be a show if we didn't actually say hi to the folks in the chat. So let's say hi to you guys.
Is that everyone? I can want it more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
Alrighty, guys. We got Noble Young here in the chat. He says, Ben, don't hate me because I like artisan nuts. Hairy nuts? That seems weird to me. I'm just kidding. 14 Wellington, he's here. He says, hiya from the inaugural CaliCon 2024. Good to see you here, buddy. Again, sorry I missed you at the con there a couple weeks ago. I will certainly make it up to you at some point, but I do hope you're having fun over there with those boys. And if you guys are watching me on a big screen TV, I love all your faces. Shiny in the chat we got here. It says, there are going to be so many nuts begotten today. You absolutely know it, sir. We got Thalia Meyer in the chat. Hello and happy Sunday, everyone. What's going on, good sir? We got OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars. I'm happy to have you here because we're obviously going to be talking a lot about Star Wars stuff today. Thanks for popping in. We got Clinton Martin in the chat. Howdy, folks. Revenge of the Fifth. You know it, good sir. We got Shiny in the chat with us as well. It says Dean was the artist. So they're not just nuts. They're Dean the Dream Nuts. Absolutely. We definitely always got to give him a little credit for those bad boys. Spock is still one of my favorite ones that I ever watched him actually draw for me. Jose G. Hernandez, what's up from Cali Collector Con? Miss you over here, Ben. Definitely wish I was there with you guys, as I said before. But we'll see Jose, I'm sure, in the next couple weeks here back on the show for sure. Action Figure Academy, one of our channel members. Hello, Ben. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Paul Schreiber, again, one of our channel members as well. Yo, glad to finally catch you guys live. Yeah, 100%. I got a chance to ride shotgun with Paul Schreiber at OxCon last year, which was really fun. We had some good times getting some barbecue and everything, so hopefully I'll get a chance to connect with you again soon. Good sir. We got Community Arcade here with us. Hero friends, feeling nutty. Love to see it. We got Tyria in the chat. Good to know there's internet in the depths of what looks like hell. Absolutely, 100%. We got Ryan Dean here in the chat with us. What's good, panel and chat? Hope everyone's having a great Star Wars week. We got Katera in the chat as well, one of our channel members with a heart. Love to see it there. We've got Adrian Cervantes here, one of our channel members, and one of our newest channel members in the chat, More Nutty. He actually messaged me on Instagram today just to ask if we were having the show. So I always love seeing that because it makes me feel that much more excited to do the show when I feel like people out there are excited to watch it. We got Brick Artemis in the chat as well. Good day, y'all. Make sure you subscribe to Brick Artemis. He's definitely creeping up there. I think he's on the road to 10K now at this point, and you can always find him over on Wolfpack Wednesday on the Jedi Knights Watch channel, and that's always a great catch as well there, guys, so don't miss that show. I think we almost have everybody that's here so far. We got Valkyrie Magnus in the chat. What's up, Ben? One of my biggest I would say supporters on YouTube right now. Always get a like and a comment from them, which I appreciate because, again, these videos take a lot of effort to make. So whenever you guys take the time to both watch them and comment, it's honestly super appreciated. So thanks for being here, good sir. Good to see you. We got King Dingling, one of our channel members here as well. What's up, guys? Good to see you, buddy. And of course, it wouldn't be a show without Collector Joey popping in, one of our channel members as well. And Collector Joey just hit 8K on his channel for subscriber count. So huge numbers, dude. Congratulations. Also congratulations on your move. I don't know if you've done a collection tour yet, but if you haven't, I have not seen it. If you do one, I will be looking forward to seeing what that new space looks like for you guys. But if I missed anybody, let me know. Hit me up in the chat because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys, so let's move on here. This is the first thing I wanted to kind of mention today, because I actually saw a post about Iron Man and how they were saying that, you know, Robert Downey Jr. probably won't come back to the MCU because of reasons. Mostly that he had a really good ending, and why should we scrub that away? But then it has been tentatively confirmed that Chris Evans will actually be potentially making a return back to the MCU. So there's speculation on kind of the three ways he might be able to return. One as potentially an MCU Human Torch, because we have seen him as Human Torch before in Fantastic Four, and maybe we'll get a kind of a multiverse cameo with him in the Wolverine Deadpool movie. Evans could also potentially reprise his role as Captain America in the Secret Wars film out of the multiverse saga that's upcoming. And lastly, potentially as Captain America in the Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson's version of his new upcoming film. Now, I would say the third one is my least favorite of those choices. I think Anthony Mackie now holds the mantle of Captain America. I think give him the opportunity to shine in that role. Absolutely. If we're going to see him again, I think of any of the ways that I'd like to see Chris Evans make a return at this point, it would actually be as Human Torch cameo in Deadpool Wolverine. But guys, I want to start with you, Chris. Have you heard about this potential for Chris Evans to quickly return? If so, of these three, what would be your favorite way for him to make an appearance again?
Well, I mean, the Fox, Fantastic Four was a Fox movie, right? I think so. Anyways, yeah, like that stuff's like near and dear to my heart, so I'd love that. And I mean, somebody told me the other day that Ray Park is confirmed as Toad in that Deadpool movie. I don't know if that's true or not, but like if it is, and they're letting canceled actors into that movie, like this is a real Deadpool movie, guys. That's crazy. But I don't know if this. I think it would be funnier if he was like a different famous superhero, because then it's like funny that he's already the Human Torch and Captain America, so he might as well be like a third, like other iconic character. I think that would please me the most. But other than that, Human Torch would be pretty fun.
Absolutely. Pete, same question. Of these three possible ways that he could return, that's rumored, what would be your kind of number one choice, would you say?
I think first of all, I'd prefer him not to come back, because I feel like, I mean, I don't mind seeing him in Deadpool, as you say, because I think we're going to see all manner of cameos and bits and pieces. I don't mind that at all. I think, you know, he's had his arc, and it would seem a little bit sort of a desperate measure, because of the recent run of Marvel films haven't been that great, and it's too easy, I think, to sometimes just fall back on the people that made the films work. So yeah, I think it would be cool to maybe see him, either as the Human Torch would be hilarious, or as you say, someone completely different, a bit like Brandon Routh in Scott Pilgrim, something like that.
Totally.
Just ask you guys, actually, did you do anything special for Star Wars weekend, May the 4th?
I spent my day in the mountains. Honestly, I was away from all civilization yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to see episode 1 in theaters with my brother, and it was a joyous time, and met some good people in the audience.
I went with I went with my son, and we saw it in 4DX. I don't know if you got that over there. So that's where the seats move, and
wow,
wind and rain. And it was fantastic. It was really good. The pod race was the bit I was looking forward to, and it didn't disappoint. It was fantastic. Like, it was like being on a roller coaster. It was brilliant.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I had a great
The only thing
time.
I would ever caution about those 4DX seats, honestly, is how much chocolate you eat in advance. I once brought a whole bag of chocolate mini eggs, and I crushed most of them before the film started. And it was Spider-Man: Far From Home that I saw. Sorry, no, it was No Way Home. It was No Way Home. And I'm thinking Spider-Man movie, same kind of idea, right? You're gonna feel like your seat is swinging.
Yeah.
It gave me such bad heartburn, dude, that I almost had to leave the theater. It was horrible. I had to turn the function right off. So don't eat too much chocolate.
No.
4DX.
No, go in light. But yeah, that was it was loved it, and I, as you say, there was a good. It was fairly busy, and it was a good vibe. Everyone was having a good time, and that. So yeah, it was nice.
That's awesome. Phantom Menace is still one of my favorites from back in the day, at least when I was a kid, because I did have all those old school like carded figures that had I can't remember what it was called, like the ecom box or like the sound
Comtech.
Comtech, that was the one. And I had the little Comtech system and everything, but I still have my Darth Maul on card from all back then. So it's cool, a cool little piece just in the collection that floats around. But
that's the only one I have still too. Just the regular Darth Maul. Yeah.
We've got the goober fish. That's a cool
that's
model,
okay. Well, I have that loose. I don't have it sealed.
Yeah, we've got it loose.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great piece. It has like articulated.
He used to have it.
Articulated jaw.
He used to have it in the bath when he was little. Now it's on his shelf.
Yeah.
But that's a great little figure. That
Shiny asks, does the chair shake when Jar Jar gets electrocuted? Do you smell burning lizard? If so, I might just enjoy episode 1 finally.
Come on, surely
listen.
He's been he's had his haters, and now you just let it be.
Episode 1 has aged like a fine wine, as far as I'm concerned. I had a great time. In theaters, man. It was good.
Me too. Yeah.
I would still love to see Hot Toys revisit a Qui-Gon Jinn artisan version. of that character. I did skip on him
Mhm.
originally because of his sculpted hair, and then I was so disappointed that I didn't pick him up, and then he kind of disappeared. I would love to see him make a return potentially from Hot Toys, if we ever get
It makes
that,
makes
down the line.
sense. Yeah, definitely.
It'd be cool to see that for sure. In terms of Evans here, you know what? I'm kind of with you guys. I'm lukewarm on even seeing the guy again at all. If they were going to come back, I think you nailed it, Pete. Quick cameo Deadpool would maybe be the best way to be like, haha, he was Human Torch. That's hilarious. And just leave it at that. Don't unwrite some of Marvel's best history at this point, because I think that would actually sour the water.
He was Human Torch like 20 years ago at this point. Like, kids don't know. You got to remind people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole generation of people who never even saw that movie at this point. Very, very.
And
true.
are we going to see Ryan Reynolds as well? It's the wrong
DC,
franchise,
right? As
isn't
Green
it?
Lantern?
Yeah.
I could see like a Green Lantern like toy floating around the movie or something. Be like, sorry, we couldn't bring him in, but you guys remember this? You know, like maybe something like that. But but at the same time, Kevin Feige is great friends with James Gunn, and I mean, you never know. But licenses, it's a sticky situation. And I don't know if it would be worth the joke at this point for all the headache that they probably have to go through. But can you imagine? But guys, let us know in the chat what your thoughts are on Evan's return. Lukewarm, don't really care, nothing burger, maybe, as Eddie would say, or are you happy with the concept of him potentially coming back in one of these three ways? I would love to hear from you guys either on the comments now or in the replay. But let's move on here, because this show blew me out of my seat this week. I will start by saying I've always been a Fallout fan, for sure. Fallout 3, I probably put about 150 hours into that game, somewhere in that neighborhood. Loved it. Played New Vegas. Never actually loved New Vegas all that much. Marco from 166 always makes fun of the way I say Vegas. I don't know. He says I say it like Vegas, but either way, I never really liked New Vegas that much. I kind of fell out of love with that one. But then I really, really enjoyed Fallout 4. Some of the base building that you could do in it. I would set up power armors and comic book stands and everything. But it was the world of Fallout that I really enjoyed seeing. You know, that post-apocalyptic world. What could a world look like so far into the future after kind of devastating nuclear events? And seeing what both, you know, vault dwellers would look like and be like versus kind of the outside world. I always thought that was really cool. And Fallout just aired on Amazon this past week. I actually signed up for Prime again so that I could watch the show specifically, and it did not disappoint. I cross-stitched like an 80-year-old baddie for about 2 days and just binge watched the hell out of the show and loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I would totally recommend it, especially if you're a Fallout fan. But also, it's breaking some crazy records. Right now, it's got 65 million viewers in the first 2 weeks, says Amazon, at least, based on their reported numbers. So for me, I was happy to see that, because I definitely want more. I hope that they go and get a season 2 going, which I'm sure, you know, well, that's it, right? Winning cures everything. If it's already greenlit because of the money it's already made, that's awesome. And I really enjoyed the acting cast in it. I thought everybody did a great job. So I just wanted to highlight this because huge win, in my opinion, for Amazon. Once again, I mean, they're always winning. Let's be honest, those folks over there. But this was a win for us in the community, I think, especially if you love Fallout. And Pete, I wanted to get your take on it. On this, like, I know you said you watched the show. What was your kind of gut reaction to it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm not really. I think I might have played Fallout 4 for a little bit, but not. It's not to say that the game wasn't great. I just didn't really get into the sort of the game, but I was aware of the games, and particularly the the power armor is very iconic, and I think it was 3 Zeros made some figures and different outfit, the different uniforms and stuff. So I was definitely intrigued to have a watch, and like yourself, I signed up for Prime. I think I got a couple of free weeks or something, so I managed to watch it all just about in time. And I thought it was great. I think it did a really good job of world building. The vaults were cool. And I think it sort of transcended it. The chatting with some of the guys in the office, everyone's watched it, and they're not gamers, they've not played the game. They just gave it a go, and it seems that everyone enjoyed it. So I think it was it was good fun. It's got a bit of comedy in it and stuff. Good, the CGI was good. As you say, good acting. Would like to see.
Definitely more violent than I expected. Like,
Oh yeah.
Like the game is pretty violent, but I was like, holy, they went there. Like that's that's cool.
That is was the second episode when the ghoul guy.
No spoilers. But
no, yeah, but there's some great gunplay in it. Some really good gunplay, and you say like exploding heads, and yeah, it's great.
Pretty crazy.
I didn't catch it yet, but it's so amazing to me to hear like fans of the game actually being satisfied with something like this. Like, wow, it doesn't seem real. Congratulations, Fallout fans.
Well, and I think the other thing is that despite it dealing with like a post-apocalyptic world, it was fun to watch. It wasn't like dark and to the point where it was depressing. You know what I mean? And, like, it had heavy moments for sure. But yeah, like it's exactly it. When I think of Walking Dead, I think of like, man, I'd have to go and kind of take myself for a hot shower afterwards because it feels so like misery, just like right. And that's what it did a good job of that. But Fallout was still fun to watch while also giving you kind of that world of what you could expect if this happened. And it kind of makes me want to go back and play the game again, despite how many hours I already put into them. I think it would be kind of fun to go back and revisit that. So
what was
I do
the
hope
last
that
one? Was five?
No. So Fallout 4 was the last best one, and then there was one I can't remember what it was called. Guys, help me in the chat if you remembered. Yes, I think it was mostly like a phone app game, though. It wasn't actually like a PlayStation like console game, and that didn't get great ratings, unfortunately. I never played that. 4 was by far the last one that I tried. So but guys, I would definitely recommend this show if you have young children. Be cautious of it. There's not really any sex or anything like that, but there's definitely some pretty heavy violence in there and gore. So just be prepared for that. Language a little bit in there as well. So but yes, definitely on the recommended list. Now this also popped up for me this week, and it kind of just made me laugh because what caught my attention on this article was everybody giving Mike Myers shit for how he looks, which blows me away because the man's
been an old man.
Yeah, he's 61 this coming month.
Okay.
And he's been kind of out of the public. Yeah. Well, he's been out of the public eye for a while. Right, and people are kind of like they're seeing him again make an appearance, and they're like, "Well, Mike Myers doesn't look the same as he once did." And I'm like, again, he's 61 years old.
Hey, he did some ads as Dr. Evil like a year or two ago that it looked pretty accurate to me.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. There you go. Well, that's it. Hair, makeup, all of the things. But he's also shocked his fans with his new look, apparently, but also has teased a potential return of Austin Powers in an Austin Powers 4. And I will say, for me, I love the Austin Powers series. I do feel like they progressively got weaker. Goldmember was my least favorite of the 3, despite it still having some great moments. The first film still by far has some of the most like quotable lines for a movie for me, at least as a kid. But I don't know if I actually need an Austin Powers 4. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it had its time, and I feel like audiences have kind of moved on from that character. The other thing that I would say is that some of the humor style of those movies back in the day, I don't know if it would land very well nowadays. So I'd be worried that it wouldn't be very funny, or it would just get torn apart because it's of what it's trying to be funny wise, but I don't know if people would be very receptive to it.
I don't know.
So
man.
I'm okay with them leaving this in the past. But Chris, what are your thoughts on an Austin Powers 4?
Well, I mean, the premise of the first couple is that like he's out of touch with modern society. So like, how great would it be to have him be 2x out of touch with modern society? You know what I mean? I think it might be just the right thing because like like all his cultural norms that were faux pas in the late 90s are now like go straight to jail actually type stuff. So like it might be pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, no longer is Dr. Evil the bad guy. Now Austin Powers lands himself in jail. You hate to see it.
Yeah, he gets canceled in the first 20 minutes and then he's sort of recovering for the rest of the I don't know. It could be funny. I mean, the problem is I don't think you'd get a real Austin Powers. I think you'd get a 2024 Austin Powers, so might as well not touch it.
That'd be my worry as well. Pete, what are your thoughts on a return potentially of an Austin Powers?
Yeah, I'd be a bit wary. I love the original films. I think, as you say, they kind of it's a a law of diminishing returns, but there's still enough funny bits in them. I mean, even in Goldmember, like that, I actually quite I like the character of Goldmember. He's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know.
Gold.
I mean, that's a keeper. Sometimes these things hit and sometimes they don't. I think it would probably be funny enough to kind of make me want to watch it, but I don't know. I think and the comment about his new look, well, it's just he's getting old. It happens to all of us. And that's what his hair looks like and stuff. It's not he doesn't look like he never looked like Austin Powers. I mean, he probably always had a wig and stuff. So he looks more like Dr. Evil, to be honest. Without needing any makeup. I think it'd be good to see him back because he's a funny guy and he's done some great films and grew up with a lot of his comedy and stuff. So I think he's still definitely got something to give, but whether Austin Powers is the right medium for that, I'm a bit 50-50 on that.
I would definitely give it a try for sure. I did like Chris's take there on the fact that the first film really did show a person out of time, right? Out of touch with what the modern sensibilities are now. And while it would be 30 years kind of from those films, and he would have grown up through some of these decades now, I'm sure he would still likely be out of touch.
I'm hoping that he's been in a freezer since 2003. If they do this,
somehow got stuck in a freezer. He's somehow Austin Powers has returned.
It'd be a lot of Kevin Spacey jokes.
That's right. Oh my god, can you imagine?
Yeah, it's like the $1 million thing. It's like there's so many ways you could like challenge his ideas of important issues, right? Like there's a lot of potential there,
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good satire on kind of the world and what our perspectives of the world at that time were, right? And bringing somebody from out of time into that world, what that would look like. So maybe you guys have convinced me. I'm more for it now than I think that I was when I first put this slide up. But guys, let us know in the chat, would you like to see an Austin Powers return? Maybe on the replay you're watching after the fact. Let us know if you think that this could be something you would get on board with. There's so many remakes happening right now, but this is a funny film, and I don't feel like we see as many comedy returns as we have more of like the scary or dramatic returns that we've been seeing lately. So a funny return might be awesome. I did want to shout out Man of Hot Collectibles, Dante, here in the chat with us. He says, hey guys, happy Revenge of the 5th. And he would also like to see an Austin Powers 4 movie. I did want to shout him out though, because Dante over on his channel, Man of Hot Collectibles, if there's any chance you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. The man just hit 100,000 subscribers, which is insane in our community here. So now you're one of the celebrities, Dante. Hope you know, bud. But I'm happy for you, man. You've been putting in work for years and years, even long before I started a YouTube channel. So congratulations to you, good sir. Well deserved. And maybe we can get you on Let's Get Nuts at some point. That would be awesome to keep switching up the panel and get.
Adrian says he's never seen Austin Powers. Try it.
Crazy.
It's hilarious.
The first one for sure. The first one for
I love
sure.
The bit where he's trying to do that. He's trying to turn that buggy in that corridor. That just, whenever you see someone that can't drive that's trying to turn their car around, you say, "Oh, he's doing an Austin Powers."
100%, 100%. Guys, let's move on because we got one more piece of entertainment news that I do want to talk about before we get into the 6-scale side of news today, because we got a lot of 6-scale stuff to talk about for sure. Marvel is reportedly tossing around the idea of making more seasons of the SpiderMan 94 animated series. Now, of course they are, because XMen 97 has already been an absolutely stellar success, and deservedly so. I've really, really enjoyed the show for the most part. I love that they brought some of the original voice actors back. I thought that was great, and kind of the iconography and like the visual aesthetic of the show is still really present, just a little more polished. And I've really enjoyed it so far. And I've already teared up at least twice in the show so far, which usually for me, once it kind of hits me at that level, it's like, okay, it's an absolute win. So seeing that they're thinking about a revisit back to the animated series of Spider-Man, I was also really excited because this was a huge piece of my childhood as well. I would say between X-Men, animated Spider-Man, and Batman the Animated Series, those were kind of my top 3. Gargoyles would be approaching that kind of top 4 if I had a top 4, but I would definitely be happy to see a return of this, at least if the story was there. I don't necessarily think that the original voice actors have to be there. I think it just has to be a good story that they tell, and I think people will be really on board with it. I also think of all the possibility of collectibles down the line, because of course Mondo has teased their animated series lineup coming down the line, but I would also love to see more of like Hot Toys quality side of it as well. Maybe things was a little bit less jointed, I want to call it, or joints. That would be really cool to see as well, but I don't know if they could do that. Maybe this would be more of like a Hano line. So for me, I would definitely support this if the story was there. It also really makes me want to see then other things come back again, like Batman the Animated Series and Gargoyles. But Chris, I'll start with you first. What are your thoughts on a potential of a revisit of the 94 animated series?
If this was like a year ago and X-Men 97 hadn't come out and wasn't a success, I would say this is a terrible idea. But in the current reality, it's probably a good idea. And I mean, they've demonstrated that they can pull it off. The only thing that gives me a little bit of trepidation is X-Men 97 had some production drama. I'm not sure if it was the director or showrunner, but he was like fired like the second after it was finished, this first season, right? And it's like, is he the reason that show was good? Maybe he was hard to work with, but he like really cared about the material. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that. So like, it's kind of sort of like if they do a season 2 of X-Men 97, they should call it X-Men 98 because that'd be funny. They probably won't, but was he the reason that was good? I don't know. But I think this is doable because like it's this show was a little more straightforward. It didn't get quite as philosophical as the X-Men cartoon, and I mean, like the Spider-Man theme and the X-Men theme from these shows, like that's the definitive theme of these characters.
100%. Every time the X-Men 97, like as soon as the credits roll, it's just like, oh yeah, it gets me hyped every single time.
I'd say do it because there's a clear line in the sand from the actual 90s show and this, so you can't really do that much harm.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was Bo DeMaio, who was the showrunner, who was allegedly let go because of an OnlyFans account that he had. And
that's what it was, eh?
When you're working with the mouse, they probably don't appreciate that. Now, I mean, at the same time, since then the show has been an absolutely critical success. So it wouldn't be totally surprising to me to actually see him either come back or maybe come back as a writer still, but potentially under a different name, ghostwriter name, right? Like it's hard to say. But
I feel like there's a bit of a double standard there. I feel like if it was a different person, maybe a female showrunner wouldn't be judged as harshly for an OnlyFans. I don't know. Disney's a little bit weird and puritanical sometimes. You never know.
I mean, if it was written in his contract or something, maybe he violated a contract thing. Like, who knows? It's all speculation at this point, guys. So don't hold us too dramatically to that. But at the same time, it was said that he did write at least the second season and potentially even a bit of a third season.
Wow.
So I think if you've liked the writing of this show, that should at least continue into the next season that we see, which would be exciting.
That's weird, right? Like you fire a guy, but you're still going to use his scripts for season 2. Like, is that how that works? I don't know.
I'm sure they own it, right? So at this point, and he has been a writer for other successful things for the mouse. So it's hard to say.
But isn't the association what you're trying to distance yourself from? You know what I mean? Like you fired him, but you're still going to put his name in the credits as writer for a whole other season. I don't know.
It still is there, right? Even in the current season.
Yeah,
you're absolutely
can't
right.
do anything about that.
Can't do anything about it. Pete, what are your thoughts on an animated series of Spider-Man making a return? Is there any other shows you'd rather them touch from the past? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I don't think I watched this one because I'd have been a bit old for this, I think, at the time. So I don't mind. I think some of these old animated series have been great. I'd probably like to see Turtles return.
Ooh,
animated
that'd be
Turtles.
sweet.
Because I remember that quite fondly watching that TV show. It's a bit weird here because they renamed it to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles because ninja was such a bad word, and it conjured
That
up.
happened?
Yeah. So in the UK, I don't know if we're the only ones. I was for a long time thought it was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. And then I discovered later, like when the movie came out and stuff, that it was meant to be Ninja Turtles. And there was a whole thing about, I think there'd been a couple of kids that got a hold of nunchuckers and
Plastic
someone, and
ninja star in the eye.
Yeah, it was a weird time. But I loved that cartoon. I thought that was great. So I think I'd like to see the Turtles come back. I think that would be my pick there.
That's a great.
But
pick,
this looks
dude.
cool,
I'd love the Turtles too.
and I know the X-Men's done well. So I think go for it.
The first time they showed me the first time they showed us a picture of the X-Men 97, and it looked like they were all like VHSs lined up, which I appreciated. I thought that was a cool picture, but I was like, oh, please don't ruin it. Please don't ruin the past. And they really, honestly, in my opinion, haven't. So
I'm a bit confused because I was watching an X-Men cartoon. I'm sure it was around 94. So do you know what that one was? Because obviously it wasn't 97.
No, 97 is the continuation. So I think 94, 95 was the original.
That's when it first. Yeah, I did used to watch that actually. So that.
Yeah, somebody might fact check you on that because I don't know if it didn't start in 97. I'd be surprised if this new one was called 97, but I don't know. Yeah.
I was in the States. I was at university in the States, and I did the fall of '94. I was in Massachusetts, and some of the guys were watching it there. So that's where my experience of it. So there was definitely something in '94 that was X-Men in it.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure
it started in 92 and went 5 seasons. So Ben is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did
That's
enjoy
awesome.
that. So I haven't checked out the new one. Maybe I should give it a go.
Well, and this got shared with me as well because, of course, Magneto has the long flowing hair, and I guess Pierce Brosnan now does as well. And I'm like, man, that actually if they ever did a live action, I could almost see it. He is a little on the old side now at this point, but man, don't they look kind of similar? That's hilarious.
That's funny. Pierce Brosnan was a very briefly Grand Admiral Thrawn too, so he gets around. Yeah,
I didn't actually know that.
He was used for some reference material that was official, but they don't like to talk about that anymore.
Absolutely. We got Toy Quest in the chat with us as well. Toy Quest 101, Miguel, good to see you, buddy. He says, so they knew he had an OnlyFans account. He unfortunately used a tweet with the OnlyFans and X-Men together. And he was just a consultant, not necessarily a full writer, but he did violate the contract. Interesting clarity there. Thanks for that heads up, buddy.
Yeah.
And Shiny says, painting X-Men 97 on his ass and uploading it. The caption, all it's cracked up to be is not acceptable advertising.
Have a sense of humor, guys. Should he go to jail for that? Come on. He's hyping up the show.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's funny, guys. Let us know if you're watching on replay. Are you excited now to see a potential return of Spider-Man, the 94 animated series? Do you feel like maybe they should leave that one in the past? That's a big favorite for a lot of people. And while 97 X-Men has done very, very well critically, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can continue to recreate that success, and there's always that possibility that things can get a little hurt. So I'd love to hear from you guys what your thoughts are there. Let's move on to some 6-scale news. This did pop up this week. This photos are taken by Nick's Collectibles, Nick's_collectibles over on YouTube. Definitely make sure you check him out over on his channel. He will be doing a I want to call it WrestleMania again. I can't remember the exact official name, but it's like a 1/6 scale wrestling match here coming up at the end of the month. So you guys are gonna want to be subscribed to his show because that's always hilarious watching all the different YouTube creators fight each other. That's for sure. But this was, I believe, at least a custom done. Now, correct me in the chat, guys, if I'm wrong there, because I haven't seen where this actually came from, but there's been quite a few collectors who are getting this now in hand. And I gotta give it some praise, honestly, and that was the biggest reason I wanted to bring it up, because I just got the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man from Hot Toys in my collection. And while I do love having a Tobey in the collection now, not only was he one of the most expensive figures I've purchased in Canadian dollars and customs charges and all the stuff, but I gotta say I was kind of disappointed by it. The bad neck seam that he has on there was really unfortunate looking. The likeness to Tobey Maguire I do think was really, really strong, but even still, I think the Gen 1 mask that had kind of the wrong threading up on the top there, a really ugly seam at the top headline there as well. So things that just kind of bothered me at the price point that I paid from Hot Toys. And when I think back to kind of the iconic first film with him and the Goblin, one of the scenes that really does stick out in my mind's eye is actually that final scene, the "Don't Tell Harry" scene, right? Where Goblin gets impaled, and it kind of really carries that story into the second film with Harry and Peter. That, for me, became one of my favorite comic book movies of all time in Spider-Man 2. So this, I actually think, is one of those figures that, custom-wise, is a wonderful figure to have, and they did an amazing job here. I don't care necessarily for battle damaged figures. I think it's more about the scene that I want to recreate in my display. But I wanted to give this one some shout out. Pete, have you seen this floating around the interwebs this past week? What were your thoughts on Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and this particular figure?
No, this is the first I've seen it, but I just had a question for you, Ben. You like Goblin?
Of course. I do like Goblin.
Yeah, Goblin needs nuts.
No, there we go.
It's a CW classic.
She's quite a tough nut, and I'm quite a tough nut to crack.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, everyone loves to battle damage everything. I think a lot of the time people just go too over the top, and it looks like a mess. But from what I can see, it's quite dark and dingy. Good photography, I think Chris would tell us there. But yeah, it looks good. So you've got the one with the older sculpt, have you?
Yeah.
I thought the head sculpt looked good. But yeah,
it is a good sculpt. It really is. But they did use the old technology, so it still has a piece of like his costume kind of on the bottom band of the neck, and it's a very noticeable lip, which is really
it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? And we all know that Nick is very very passionate about his Spider-Man, and every single time Hot Toys announces something, he puts on about the black suit Spider-Man.
So at this point, I'm rooting for the change. I'm rooting for it just so he can take a day off.
Absolutely, he's very committed to the cause. Yeah, but no, that's cool. Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. Chris, what are your thoughts on the original Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man? Did you end up thinking about picking up any of the Spider-Man figures, especially from the No Way Home line? And what are your thoughts on this battle damage version of Tobey?
Well, as a Hot Toys noob, my curiosity looking at this, specifically this image, is like how much of this is like stock and how much of this is custom. Because like I just can't even believe how small the overlay of the sort of web pattern on the costume is, and how it actually sort of reflects the look of the movie. Like, because this mask, there's no battle damage mask like this that came with any official Hot Toys, right?
That's correct.
So this is did he make the mask, or did he he wrecked like a stock mask?
Let us know. I'm not even 100% sure.
Okay.
Honestly. I think this was a full like custom make. So, and as I said, lots of different collectors are getting this in hand now, which is crazy. But I've seen lots of great photos.
So is that face like an old Hot Toys, or that new one?
No, because I think it must be the new one, if anything, or it's like literally a new sculpt. Because as I said, we've never seen the Tobey Maguire likeness from my recollection in past releases yet.
Okay, so he's using the head sculpt, but it's covered up so much you can't. It's close enough that you can get away with it.
Or
with
as I said, I think it's a new sculpt, honestly, because even with the draped over hair and everything, it's new.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I don't know, like I don't know if you mentioned the photographer. There's a watermark on there somewhere that says like.
Yep, that's Nick's Collectibles.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I want to know what I'm looking at, because like I'm not familiar enough with the old Hot Toys. Like this costume looks insane. Like look at the ripped fabric on the chest there. Like this looks crazy. I just don't know what I'm looking at. It looks amazing. I didn't know they could do. I didn't even know they could do like that, like the pattern of the webbing over top of a fabric suit like that. Like, as we'll get into later in the show when you talk about some of these May the 4th announcements, like, I'm real new to Hot Toys. I might have pre-ordered my first one this week ever. I didn't know this was possible, that they could do like an overlay like that of like rubber or something that would actually like hold in place and be that fine.
Yeah.
Like, this
And
looks
it is how
crazy
the-
to me.
It is how the new Hot Toys one looks. So I do wonder if it's, and again, I'm just speculating. This was kind of a last edition onto the show sheet today, guys. So apologies. Normally I would do my homework a little bit better for the setup here, but I do think it could be the Hot Toys body that's been purposely battle damaged, because the suit itself here, like on the body under the neck, does look very, very similar to what I already have now in the collection.
Okay.
So the battle damage side, and then I think that they've sewn this new head sculpt into the body, because as I said, there's not even a seam or a joint line at the neck there. It's literally connected. So
Yeah.
it looks
So they
amazing.
sacrificed a new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. No, it's good. I mean, they merged the masked head and the unmasked head, I guess, right? Like, it's a lot of
Well,
work.
we should try and guess what you pre-ordered, Chris.
Well, I don't know if Ben has a slide with all the new Star Wars announcements, but it's one of those.
Interesting. I would say you said you just saw the Phantom Menace, so my guess is Darth Maul.
Me
What
too.
about you, Pete?
Yeah, I was going Maul.
Yeah, that's gonna be wrong, but nice try though. Yeah.
What was it? What did you get? What's your first Hot Toys?
Dark Empire Luke.
Ah,
Ooh.
nice.
Interesting. Good segue, Chris, because the Dark Empire Luke is actually the next thing that we're going to talk about today. Hot Toys has put this up for its pre-order. It did have its Artisan release or I should say pre-order window that went up on Thursday afternoon now, I believe. We've already moved past it a couple days here. But of course, the standard release with the sculpted hair is also very much available. This was one for me that, like, I didn't have a huge connection to. I did not read the Dark Empire comics, so I didn't even know much of the story. In terms of the story itself, just so you guys kind of have like a very, very brief summary here, and I am reading this just so you guys are aware from
Thank God.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, let's just pause for a second and appreciate Ben for doing at least the bare minimum research. So many 1/6 shows, I'm like, I don't know. I heard this week, I don't know. It's from the comics. He's like evil or something. Go ahead, Ben.
There you go. Thank you. So, 6 years after the Battle of Endor, the fight for freedom rages on. Darth Vader is dead, but a reborn empire under a mysterious new leader strikes back at a struggling rebel alliance. A massive world devastators more powerful and unstoppable than the Death Star ravage entire planets, while the ruthless heirs of Jabba the Hutt's palace and the monumental price on their head of Princess Leia and her husband Han Solo. Now, along with Lando, Chewbacca, R2, and 3PO, the other old allies, Han and Leia struggle to protect their future for their unborn child, but their greatest foe may be their closest friend, Luke Skywalker. So I read that, at least from kind of my very basic knowledge here, Chris, as this is after Return of the Jedi takes place. But instead of the history of Luke Skywalker that we're now kind of familiar with from the sequel trilogy, what happens with Luke there, it sounds to me like he kind of goes dark side and honestly takes on kind of the mission statement of what Darth Vader's mission statement was, and continues in the Galactic Empire under kind of that ruling of
Puts his dad's
the Emperor,
clothes on.
based on what I can see.
Well, it's a little more nuanced
So tell
than
me,
that, guys.
tell me the nuance if you can.
Yeah,
if you're
well,
happy.
like, imagine actually thinking about when you're gonna make a sequel to Return of the Jedi. Imagine actually watching Return of the Jedi and thinking about what would actually happen next, unlike what they did with Episode 7, right?
Yes.
So like when Luke finds out that good old Palpy has somehow recloned himself, he's like, this is impossible. This game can't be won. He's crazy. He's invincible. He just keeps coming back. What do you do to escalate the offensive here? And he's like, the only thing I can think of is experimenting with the dark side myself. And then maybe if I have it within me, once Palpatine's gone, I can pull myself out of it. And that's really what's going on here. So, I mean, it's just that cover. Like I think it's I think it's Dave Dorman who's did the cover art for this. It's a 6-issue series. There's Dark Empire 2, but we're really talking about the first one here. This is the cover of issue 1 that you've pulled up, which congratulations on, once again, doing the bare minimum amount of research,
Absolutely
Ben,
bare
that
minimum, yes.
nobody else I'm watching is even doing. They're just like, yeah, it's from a comics, I know, something like that. But I mean, you can see the elements of Vader's costume in that first issue art there that they've replicated very nicely here, and the big Dracula collar. It's good times, man. I think this is like, it's like 91 or 92. It's like real early. Like when this came out, there was no prospect of a cinematic sequel to Return of the Jedi. You have to keep that in mind. It was like, maybe we'll get the prequels, in like 8 years if we're lucky. It's, there was no chance in episode 7 was going to happen at this point in time. Lucas would give an interview saying, absolutely not. I'm not even going to let someone else direct in episode 7. That's where you got to sort of put yourself in that frame of mind. It wasn't even a possibility. So that's what you get. And it's incredibly iconic for me, and it was my first Hot Toys pre-order ever.
Dude, that's such an awesome pre-order, and especially if you really enjoyed the story. And it was actually the reason why, like you joked about, but it's true that I wanted to do kind of that bare minimum research, because I was like, okay, if they're creating a whole like figure out of this, clearly like this is a cool story. And even just reading through Wikipedia there earlier today and kind of figuring out a little bit more about the beats of it, I'm like, why didn't they do this as the sequel trilogy? Like,
well,
why jump so far?
Part of the problem is that they waited 30 years to make those movies, right? So like it wouldn't have really, fit. You'd be putting Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford way
it's not
more
Harrison
front
Ford's
and center.
baby at this point. It's not Han's baby and Leia, because he's a whole adult man at this point.
Yeah, which is why episode 7 probably shouldn't have been called episode 7 in the first place. But never mind that, it does, never mind the fact that it logically doesn't connect to episode 6 in any way, shape, or form. Never mind that. But this is, like, it's easy for me to draw a line in the sand and sort of cut it off at like, here's where Lucas stopped personally approving everything that came out, and that's where it gets silly. And I mean, this is not Shakespeare. Let me tell you guys, like, if you read this, you're not going to be like, wow, I'm blown away by this narrative. It's just the Cam Kennedy art and the fact that you have to put yourself in the headspace of, it's been 7-8 years since Return of the Jedi came out. We haven't got anything, and they're finally giving us a little bit of what happened next. And they thought about, how do we escalate things? Like Luke became the ultimate Jedi, defeated the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. How can we elevate the stakes a little bit? You know what I mean? It's like they're actually thinking about that, and they made him flirt with the dark side to get the Emperor finally removed from the corporeal realm. And it's a fun story. It's only 6 issues. If you can find the trade paperback cheap, I highly recommend reading it.
Absolutely. I do wonder how many collectors have gone after that comic now that they've got the figure on the way, or they're interested in the figure. Chris, one last question before I go to Pete. Did you pick up the artisan one then, or did you just get the sculpted? What was your choice on that?
First of all, I got the cheapest possible one because the artisan hair freaks me out, and I don't want it. I think that listen, I'm new. I'm probably wrong about this. I'm worried about how it will look in like 5 years. If it'll look like Ronald McDonald, then I'll have to like apply products to it and stuff. I don't want that in my life. So I went with the collector's edition.
Absolutely. Great take, dude, and thank you for some of the history on that comic as well. It was one of the reasons I was so excited that Chris was actually going to be on the show today, because, again, I had to give very surface information here. I don't know much about this character. This is one that I've chosen to skip on for that very reason. I do try to put things in my collection that don't just objectively look cool, but that typically do have kind of an impact on my, again, that nostalgic punch on the chest that I always talk about. Quick shout out to Bear_Benoit, says, finally able to catch some of the live show. Much love from Brisbane, Australia. Good to see you here, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much for popping in and getting nuts with us here on Sunday, from so far away from Canada, here at least. So great to see you. Pete, welcome. Why do you think when people go to the dark side, they need such a large cod piece to protect their nuts? And what are your thoughts on this figure?
I have no idea. It obviously does something very interesting to their nuts, or they become ultra fragile and they need some kind of protection. But I don't have any. I haven't read this. I wasn't sure. It's funny because you guys were talking about it on CW just on Tuesday because there was that picture of JC Hong with his, and you all kind of everyone was saying no, they're not going to make that. Like that must be just his private collection, and then 2 days later, bang, there it is. So that kind of put a smile on my face because it was like, you know, people were like, no, it can't possibly. So it's come out of nowhere really, and I think it's a cool release. So I don't have any affiliation with this, so it's not one that I would pick up. But I think it's always good to have some choice. And yeah, I think you probably made the right choice, Chris. Definitely for your first Hot Toys. I think I think the artisan thing to me. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say Disney cracked the code, man. They made me give them money for something that, in my view, says "F you" to Disney. You know what I mean? It's the canon they erased, but I'm still paying them for it.
That is an interesting perspective.
Yeah,
that's fair. That is an interesting take.
But yeah, no, it looks good, and not something that I'm going to pick up. I've already got, I think, 8 or 9 Lukes in my collection, 6 scale. So he's well represented, but yeah, it looks cool, and you will be impressed with the fabrics, and you've got the light up boxes and stuff. The Saber's not so good. The USB now, they're still not very bright, but yeah, it looks cool. I don't know if it's whether they've said that it's a brand new sculpt or whether it's based on the Mando one. Not really read into it, but
so as a noob, I would like to ask you guys, like, I don't have, so like you're saying it's basically just one LED in the base of the hilt, right? Is that how it works?
Correct. Yeah. So it's sort of a little bit bright at the bottom, and then by the time you get to the tip, there's not a lot of light there. So
what's crazy to me, like, I don't know why they don't find a way to figure out those like CTFL tubes, because like I have like a premium format Shock T from the Force Unleashed that's like 13 years old, and it has one of those CTFL tubes in it. Like, are they worried people are going to break them? Like, I don't know what's going on with that. But
I think there's a number of. I mean, they are. I mean, it surprised me actually. I never realised that some of those premium formats actually shipped with CCFLs, because there's 2 issues. One, they are very fragile. They're a glass tube, and I don't know what kind of protection that's got around it. It's probably got a case around it and stuff, but and also the heat. I don't know if it
the
gives
heat's
off.
A big factor, I think.
Yeah, the heat's a big factor. It's not going to set your house on fire. I run about 20 of them when I'm all set up, and they do get hot, but they're I don't see it as an issue to one. As long as you've not got them touching the clothing of another figure next to them or something like that, they're okay.
I think it was a real brief window that premium formats were doing that. And it is it's great because it's a real premium thing, and it really sets the figures off. But I think that certainly a lot of them, those older ones now, people have broken them because there's quite a market in having those, people replacing those and everything. But CCL FL is unbeatable. It looks like a miniature lightsaber. It's fantastic. But yeah.
But so costly still too, right, Pete? I mean, they take a while to ship.
I make my own.
Oh, you make your own?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
but I just, it's again, as a noob, this marketing is a weird choice, right? Because like, even if you had a fluorescent tube there, you're not getting the look that they have in these promo shots.
No, they always try to shop those sabers. Yeah, it's a real. It's not quite a bait and switch, but it is misleading. I wouldn't pay the money to. I worked out how to make them myself, and that's what I've got. Loads of them.
They got them in the computer stores, right? Like they put them in their computer cases.
Yeah.
You should be able to find them somewhere. Yeah.
One thing that I will note for you, Chris,
yeah.
No worries. One thing that I'll note for you, Chris, just because it is your first Hot Toys figure, is the material on those pants. It's not leather material, unfortunately. It's not real leather.
Oh, well,
So
Welcome to the world of pleather. Yeah.
So Darth Vaders are kind of notorious for flaking material over time. So just keep it like in a non-humid environment, best of your ability. I can't remember where in the world you exactly are.
Toronto.
Yeah,
Should be okay.
Yeah, should be okay there. I used to be in Ontario as well. So, but keep an eye on that especially, and really give it a good look over when you take it out of the box, even for the first time, just to make sure there's no failures or anything like that.
I've had A New Hope Vader since launch. So what was that? 10 years ago. No problems at all. But he's standing straight up and down. The problem with this figure is you might be tempted to have it in more of a dynamic pose, I guess, than you would with Vader. But I think you'll be all right. I've had very few.
Quick note. Sorry, Pete.
It's
sorry
nylon.
To interrupt you. We're getting an update here, which I didn't realize. Thank you guys for helping us on that one. Ryan Dean says it's nylon on this one, not pleather, so you did luck out.
Wow.
So a newly
cool.
designed nylon material, which is that then let us know, guys. Is that kind of that similar to that windbreaker material that we've seen on other figures as well? Because I actually heard that the Revan is also going to have something similar on his undersuit. That everybody at first was speculating was also pleather, and it sounds like that's different. So if that is the case, a little bit less concern there, Chris, because the original Darth Vaders, they all kind of ultimately flake a little bit.
It probably means you have a new Darth Vader coming. Yeah.
Oh God, I hope.
Yeah, that'd be we've just got the Kenobi one. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, once you get him, I don't know when he's due out. If you're interested in getting a CCFL from him, hit me up, Chris. I'll sort you one out at a reasonable price.
I'm thinking about maybe like printing a backdrop that looks like the color from that issue 1. You know what I mean? Do the cover pose, and maybe print a backdrop that's like at least color wise in line with that issue 1 cover.
It's a slippery slope. If this is Chris's first Hot Toys, guys, what do you think is going to be a second? Because it's like Lay's chips. You can't just have one, bud. It's the way she goes.
I only have two. I only have 2 premium formats, and they're both over 10 years old, so I'm not that susceptible to this.
You're okay. I don't know, if you start coming on Let's Get Nuts a little bit more, we may take you to the dark side here.
This particular saber hilt always gives me nightmares when I'm doing this one, though, because it's the most difficult hilt to work with, because it goes so thin behind where the emitter is to get the wires and everything into that.
Man,
it's difficult to get.
It's so great to hear you say that, because like when they do that Disney Parks one, they have like when you have the blade in, it's like a thicker tip on the end, and that drives me nuts how inaccurate that is. Yeah,
I've got the Obi-Wan one somewhere in front of me, and it's much thicker than it should be. So, but you get a Vader one or the Luke's original saber, and they're big, fat, chunky hilts. They're easy to do, but this one always gives me a little bit of a worry. But I have done them, and I've got better at them. But they're
nice.
A little bit scary.
Keep us posted if you melt any figures, Pete. We also want to hear.
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah, I'll let you know, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There you go, guys. Let us know in the chat. Did you pick up the artisan version this week with the Q system? Did you even get the figure? I did see some people, reporting that they kind of missed the opportunity. They were too high of a number, so didn't get the artisan, which is unfortunate for the folks that really wanted it. Even still, though, even if you missed on the artisan line, did you get the sculpted at least? I think if there's nostalgia there for this, or if you even just legitimately think it's cool, there's a good reason to put it in the collection on this one, because it's Luke Skywalker. Who doesn't love it? And I would say that sculpt-wise, this is now one of my favorite likenesses for Mark Hamill. So I think it's a win all around for collectors, and it also is really cool to think about possibilities now going forward, because kind of like you said earlier, Pete, nobody really saw this one coming, and even if you were familiar with Dark Empire, I don't think anybody actually thought we'd get anything.
You'd never have put money on it. No, absolutely not.
Right?
Where did you order from, Chris? Out of interest.
So I, because I'm new, I very basically just ordered from Sideshow, and then Badfish started telling me, man, you could have saved like $60 if you ordered from this or that. So I'm working on it, but I may not order anymore. We'll see.
Yeah. We're gonna have to rebrand to Let's Get Canadian Nuts here, because I'm gonna try and get Badfish on the channel here soon as well. So we'll see. So OG Fan says Artisan Luke was secured. Hell yeah, dude, that's awesome. Shiny says Chris's second figure will be Captain Phasma, which I doubt that.
I feel attacked.
Knowing Chris, I doubt that. Yes, highly.
If they actually made it chrome, it would almost look cool because when you watch that first trailer for The Force Awakens and you didn't know how rough your next 8 years were going to be, Captain Phasma looked pretty cool in that first trailer.
Yeah.
Crazy. Ryan Dean also says just barely snagged the Artisan. Was like 4,500 in line and when I started the queue. I wish they included the sculpted with the Artisan too, because the sculpted looks really great.
Listen, no shade.
Interesting ad.
Yeah, like the Artisan definitely looks better in the promo shots. Like, don't get me wrong, like it looks amazing. I'm just afraid of I know I'm gonna still have it displayed in 5 years, and I don't want to have to fiddle with it. But it's obviously better. Like, don't get me wrong. I also didn't want to spend 600 Canadian. On
exactly. Yeah, it's a lot more money.
Well, and the other thing, Pete, is that Chris is that we haven't actually got an Artisan one in hand officially yet, because so that is concerning me a little bit, right? It's like when InArt came out with their rooted hair Joker, everybody was like, "Oh my god, the price!" But the rooted hair looks amazing in the proto. Hopefully, it transitions into the final product, and then I would argue that for most people, it did a really good job, and gave people that additional confidence to spend more money with a company like InArt for future rooted hair versions.
Has that Wonder Woman that was not officially in Artisan, has that shipped?
Let us know in the chat. I can't remember if that one shipped yet or not, to be honest.
Oh, it has. Yeah, it came out quite soon after the. Someone's put that there. So that was before they coined the Artisan, because that was the Joker was.
Which it should have been an Artisan. It was what, weeks before the first Artisan release came out. And then the Scarlet Witch, I think, was the next one in line. So let's hope that Scarlet Witch looks pretty awesome as well. So as I said, I'm sure Hot Toys will do a good job with it. I'm a huge Hot Toys fan myself. I'm rooting for them to succeed, but it still makes my nuggies shrill, a little bit, knowing about how much they're asking for this without an absolutely proven track record at this point. I once had the I want to call her the Scarlet Witch, the Scarlett Johansson figure, the Black Widow figure with the blonde hair. And that was some of the worst, wasn't really rooted hair at that point. It was more like a skull cap, but God, I could not futz that hair down to save my life, and ended up selling the figure because she looked like a Barbie next to my other figures. I hated it.
This shot you have up right now, that's the sculpted one, right?
Sculpted, yeah. And then the Artisan is this one on the left. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I just, to me, it's I don't want to have to deal with it over time, but it definitely looks better in these promos.
Yeah, it's funny because the one on the left looks really good, but the one on the right looks like it's gone a little bit too poofy.
Even though it's a real fine... Oh no, it is artist. They're both artists.
I think those are both artists. Yeah,
they are.
So it's a real fine line, I think, as to it looking fantastic and it looking a little bit dodgy. So I think.
How does it look like out of the box? That's what I wonder.
How are they gonna ship those Artisan ones? Because again, with InArt, going back to them, they have that clear plastic tube that they put all their rooted hair sculpts in, right? So I wonder if Hot Toys will adopt this in. But I would say even just from the cover of this Dark Empire book, he definitely has that kind of wind-swept hair. I do think that they've done a good job on this. So for the folks that are getting it, I'm excited. It is weird to see kind of what looks like almost a half Darth Vader costume, but now having a bit more familiarity with the story, thanks to Chris and Wikipedia research, I can understand the appeal. As I said, my only question that remains is why does everybody who goes to the dark side need a junk cover codpiece that size? But let's move on. We got Darth Maul from the Phantom Menace has made a return, a 2.0. And I think a lot of people were kind of speculating, people in the community and other YouTubers were speculating for a couple weeks now, right, that even maybe a couple months at this point, let's be honest. So we did see that they were gonna revisit the Phantom Menace through a Hot Toys tease a couple months ago, I want to say, and I think ever since then people are like, oh, we want a new Maul, right? Most people, for me included, their introduction to Darth Maul was in the Phantom Menace. So in terms of my mind's eye, I would say he's the most iconic Darth Maul. But I do have the solo film Maul in my collection that has the robotic legs, and I absolutely love that Darth Maul figure. So it actually is helping me avoid purchasing this one. Now they have done some upgrades for sure. This is kind of what the head sculpts look like, depending on which one that you put in.
Okay.
It's got that newly developed head sculpt with the separate rolling eyeballs, which is really nice. And then here on the left versus on the right, you see the increases or the updates. So you see the DX16 and 17 on the left side there from the past, and the MMS 748 and 749 on the right side. And you can see that they've kind of made his face a little bit more slender for Ray Park. I actually do think that the new version is certainly superior, both in paint applications and likeness to Ray. But the original version is no slouch either. So oftentimes on the Ben Thomas Show, I have a this or that segment, and I might do one for this character specifically to look at those kind of minute details. But I actually think if you have the original, you probably don't have to upgrade to the newest one. I think your money could potentially be safe on this, but it is still an improvement, like, for sure. So I was curious what you guys were thinking about this. Again, I kind of answered my own question. I don't think I need this version in my collection, but not because I have a Phantom Menace Maul, but because I just have a Maul that I already really enjoy. I don't feel like I need multiple Mauls like I have with Darth Vader's. I don't even know if I need 3 Darth Vaders. I don't know why I'm going to have 3 in my collection. Like, as much as I love Darth Vader, I want to try and collect kind of the definitive piece in my mind's eye for each of these characters, which is hard to do when Hot Toys keeps giving us so much good shit. So, Pete, what are your thoughts on the Maul update here, the 2.0, and is this something that you would consider?
I love it, and I pre-ordered it.
Nice.
I didn't get the 16, 17. I mean, I'm not bothered with the Speeder, so I've gone with the just with the figure. I passed on the 16, 17 because I think, in my mind, I know everybody's different and everything, that the best likeness was the Battle on Naboo sideshow version. I preferred that to the Hot Toys, and I think it had more of this sort of more slender, taller head. So that's the one that I've got. But I just saw these head sculpts, and I thought it's time to upgrade. Obviously, get him at retail price. I think it's it will be the clothing will be an upgrade. The head sculpt looks fantastic. I'll probably just go with the stoic look. But I could always put the other one on the Naboo body, so I win either way. So
this is the one. This is the one you're referring to.
That's it. Yeah, and it looks better than that.
I don't know if I ever saw that figure, to be honest.
Yeah, I picked him up quite cheap, and I've always preferred it to the Hot Toys one. I think the red pops a lot more than the Hot Toys, and I think that they've accentuated that a bit more on the new one. I think it looks a brighter red. And I think they've definitely it looks fantastic.
How old is that one?
That's got to be a good 9-10 years old, I'd have thought.
So is that like pleather on the belt and stuff like that? How's that holding up?
No, it's all material. I think Sideshow are pretty good at I think Hot Toys really kind of like went balls deep with the pleather. I think a lot of the old Sideshow stuff, it's either the plastic or it's material. They're pretty safe. They tend to last. Some didn't. I think they put the worst one is they used pleather on the Revenge of the Sith Anakin. They did, and those things are just dust now. But no, Maul's great, and I mean, I think I'll probably end up putting the second head on that body, so I'll get 2 figures for the price of one. Really.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, again, as a 1/6 like noob, like you do sort of watching these streams for a long time, you do hear people talk a lot of crap about the Sideshow 1/6 stuff, but I mean that promo shot looked pretty nice of that Maul. I hear what you're saying, man. The head sculpt does look a little more in line with the updated version that they're doing now, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that the Speeder isn't also a huge vehicle in comparison to vehicles that we see nowadays. Like, you could actually get this in a pretty tight display still, depending.
Yeah,
and that Speeder is pretty iconic to that first film, right? That Phantom Menace film. So
it is. But you see it for about 10 seconds.
But Pete, you're missing the point that he purposely tries to run over a child with it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Fair enough. Makes it iconic.
Awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely. Chris, is this one that you considered? Because again, you did get your first figure on the way and locked in, but you then saw
close.
that Phantom Menace figure or movie yesterday again. So recency bias, right?
You guys weren't far off the mark. It's just like this doesn't quite give the middle finger to Disney in the same way that Dark Empire Luke does, in my personal understanding. But like, and first of all, the speeder's called the Bloodfin. They should say that on there. Are they new? It's Darth Maul's bike is called the Bloodfin. For you guys who don't know, it shouldn't say Sith speeder. Okay. But you know, that looks beautiful. I would love to have this. I can't go that crazy. Like, I don't know if I want the Dark Empire Luke yet. I got to look at it when I get it. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy talk. I can't do it, but this is beautiful. I would buy this, but I can't do it.
A question, Chris, having that you watched Phantom Menace again yesterday, same as myself. It always makes you laugh because Qui-Gon shouts, "Anakin, drop." Would you not have gone, do what? Sorry? Like, he just knew. I mean,
you need some context here, Pete. You need some context here because there's a deleted scene slightly prior to that wherein Darth Maul's little probe droids chase down Anakin and Qui-Gon whilst they're walking back to the Royal Starship, and Qui-Gon kills them with his lightsaber. He slashes them up, right? So they've recently been attacked by robots. So like, there's a little Anakin's not quite that surprised that he's being attacked yet again.
Yeah. It just seems that he's too rehearsed, that he knows exactly what to do. You'd be like,
sounds like they cut out like a critical scene there that would have given some context to that.
Just whacks him in the back of the head because he doesn't. He's questioning what Qui-Gon's shouted at him.
What do you mean? Yeah,
huh?
No, but no, it's good. I mean, no, but that is that deleted scene's been out there ever since the DVD release. But yeah, like his little probe droids, which are, I mean, they're just a great design, and I have like a 1-to-1 version of that from 1999 that shoots little foam discs at you, which is a beautiful thing.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was a Hasbro product back in the day. Highly recommend. Cool. But did it come? But it came with a Qui-Gon lightsaber that had an RF thing in it, that so the droid spins on a stick and shoots foam discs at you in the direction of the lightsaber. It's a beautiful thing. Highly recommend. Cool. But yeah, I would get this. This looks great. I mean, it's close. It's a tough call, but it's like the Dark Empire Luke is just like, like between, if I had to flip a coin between the two, like, you know what I mean? It's like that one speaks to more like the elitist gatekeeper in me, the one that the kids don't know about is the cooler choice, obviously.
What do you guys think about the commemorative coins that are coming out? Not bothered. Depending on when you get them. Is that something that would stand out for you?
I don't imagine that I'll be getting one of those.
I didn't get that one with the Dark Empire Luke, but then Badfish told me that mine would have shipped earlier if I did get the one with the coin. So then I might have done and got rid of the coin. Right. But other than that, yeah.
I think trend-wise, the special edition usually ships earlier, but I don't know if it's like a guaranteed science necessarily. So I wouldn't hold. Badfish, don't be telling people fake news out there, bud. Okay, just if you're listening on the replay.
I was also I was explaining to my son that he's I think he's only ever seen the CGI version of Yoda from Phantom Menace. So I was telling him all about the fact that they originally made one of the worst, creepiest puppets ever.
I'd still rather have that. That was my number one thought last night. I was like, man, it's just inauthentic to me, like live with your mistakes, Yeah,
well, I kept my DVD specially so that I've got that version of Yoda in my collection. But
whenever I think of the Yoda puppet, I think of the bad lip reading music videos of like Seagulls. That song, that still makes me laugh every time. It's in my playlist on Spotify.
Yeah, but Puppet Yoda is like, imagine, it's been 17 years since Return of the Jedi. We're bringing back Frank Oz. He's gonna puppet Yoda again. He's gonna we're gonna build an elevated set so old Frank Oz can sit under there, jam his arm up in Yoda, and then a few years later, we're going to cover him up with CGI.
Yeah, it's a shame, but it was a bad puppet.
I've never really thought about Yoda with an arm stuck up him. No.
Well, there's a behind-the-scenes feature for The Last Jedi, which is the best thing about The Last Jedi, where Mark Hamill and Frank Oz did a little pre-rehearsal for their scene with Puppet Yoda, and that's good stuff because Frank Oz is manually operating a Puppet Yoda from below the set at like 80 years old. Yeah,
awesome.
Wild. And for me, I don't think the coins are a big thing. I actually do collect coins because my grandma, when she passed away, she like I got her coin collection, and so I've kept on with coin collecting since her passing years ago. And I mean, I've got some amazing coins in there from world history, which is awesome. I wouldn't necessarily call these world history coins, but they would still end up in that collection if I got it in my bigger box.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be something that I would necessarily chase down. I still think that I would rather have a more iconic like accessory piece to the character versus a coin. But
Ben, coins have a very storied history with Star Wars figure collecting. For example, there were in 1985, the Kenner Power of the Force line first introduced coins paired with figures, and there was a coin for each of 65 figures released in the Power of the Force line. So you had your carded 3 3/4 figure with a coin sealed on the card, and they did 65 of those back in the 80s. And ever since then, it's resurfaces here and then, like and maybe in like 2007 30th anniversary, the 3 3/4 Hasbro line had coins again. And like it's a long history with that. It's just like it was a gimmick back then, so they could add something new to a figure mold they were reissuing for the 5th time. You know what I mean? Like, it was a marketing gimmick back then, and that's what it feels like to me now.
Hey, it's interesting that it's got some history in there, though. Which is kind of cool that they've revisited that at the very least. So, and anybody who has those original coins, I wonder what those would be worth now, right?
I got some. Yeah, full set is very expensive, but I mean, like, I don't know if you have seen. Maybe you saw the TVC figures Hasbro put out a couple years ago for the Droids cartoon. They had coins on there, and even though they were new TVCs, they were mimicking the old style where they made an R2, a 3PO, and a Boba Fett that all had like a gold coin put on the card a couple years ago.
I also wonder, like, how will collectors display these coins, or will they end up just sitting in the box, right? And because it's one of those things you wouldn't want to lose either. Clearly, this will have a little bit of value attached to these figures in the future. If you want to put them up for sale, I'm sure of it. Completed box is always a good thing, right? So interesting to see it, but cool history, Chris, as well. Thanks for sharing that, dude. That was awesome. Let's move on. We got a couple more pieces here that I want to quickly talk about. We got the Shadow Trooper. Once again, I want to call this a very soft 2.0. It's pretty much just a reissue from what I can tell. I've got the Shadow Trooper just up above me here with his white Stormtrooper counterpart from Return of the Jedi that also released about a week ago now, or 2 weeks ago, somewhere in that range. The Shadow Trooper is an amazing figure. I absolutely love it. I've loved it since I got it back in, I think, 2017 now, as far back as then. Great figure. Like, the photography on this is always amazing. Like, I am very much an amateur photographer, and every time I snap a picture of this guy, he looks just beautiful on the camera. And with that red Death Star backdrop that this guy's coming with the LED light up system, I think in terms of displays, this is an absolute win. Where I think I feel most disappointed is that it is very much just a reissue of the original version. So to me, being somebody who's now been in the collecting game for a while, it does feel like it's diminished kind of that collectability of my originals, which suck because now everybody can get their hands on this guy once again. However, if anybody has been watching me for longer than, the last 10 minutes, they also know that I have always been at least a champion of people being able to get what they want in their collections, because Hot Toys does not number these figures. They're not numbered editions. It's an easier nut for me to swallow seeing reissues come back. Now, the Shadow Trooper was actually an exclusive back in the day, the one that I got. So that may rub some people the wrong way, because it actually had exclusive written right on the box, as opposed to it just being a standard release that's come back. But even still, for me, because they're not numbered, I completely anticipate that most things that we see from Hot Toys from years ago will start making their return. I'm expecting a Terminator release like any day now, because it's getting to be about that time. I want to say it's somewhere between 7 and 10 years. You can almost anticipate that you're going to see some of these come back. And for folks out there like Ryan Dean here says, this has been a grail for me for a couple of years now, and you're the only reviewer I've seen that has the original one, which is mind-blowing, because I still got that kind of at the tail end of its release. I didn't get that day one back in the day. I just snagged it before it was completely gone. And since then, not many people seem to have it in their collections. But back then, there was also a lot of troopers to choose from. So you have to kind of choose where you spend your money. The Shadow Trooper and the White Trooper together, though, a beautiful display. Absolutely beautiful display. And now that we're getting the opportunity to have these guys again, I may still end up picking up a second one of each, so I can have 4 troopers displayed with the 2 backdrops. I think that could look really, really cool next to a Vader or one of my other characters. But that's my take there. Pete, what are your thoughts on kind of the return of these troopers, the fact that they've really made no changes to them? They're very much a reissue, not a 2.0. Does it rub you the wrong way because you've been in the collecting business for a long time yourself, or do you think that this is a win for collectors at this point?
I don't care. I don't do black stormtroopers. What's this guy from?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Pete. This is from a 1979 Marvel comic, but originally, but it's been in the Battlefront games and stuff. Like, it's old, it's got credibility, it's pre-Disney, but it's not as like, why not have 4 regular stormtroopers instead? You know what I mean? Like, it's not really, a little bit off the beaten path. Yeah,
just not a fan of it. It didn't appear in the original trilogy, so it's off the cards for me. I just to say about I mean, I think you're right. There are always going to be reissues, and troopers are easy for them to do. And we've seen how many different iterations of the clones and stuff that Hot Toys have done, because it's just it's easy money for them. I'm not a fan of this, but I think I've always said that I'm not in this game to have rare collectibles. I just want to have the figures that I love, characters I love on my shelf, and I'm more than happy for as many people as possible to have them. And obviously, if they do 2.0 stuff, I have a choice to buy it or not. Just if I'm happy with my original one, leave it at that. Or if I want to put my money down, I can get the 2.0. So it doesn't really bother me. I have said on record that it worries me a bit if they do start to redo all the New Hope line, because I'll feel like I might have to put my hand in my pocket, and that's a bit of a scary thought. But I'm not going to say that I don't want them to do it, because I don't want other people to have a chance to own those figures. So it's inevitable. I think it's going to happen, and you always have a choice just to stick or twist as if you like. So yeah,
absolutely. I think here it's pretty common at this point now. I think for most collectors, they hear us say, don't buy for the investment piece. These are not investments. They are still collectibles, and collectibles will appreciate and depreciate in value over and over and over and over again. And sometimes they do go rare. Sometimes you do get a winner. For a while,
buy what you love.
And for a while, this very Shadow Trooper I could sell here in Canada for $800. Now, this is the price point. $240 with a light up base is a great deal. Right, Mando Stormtrooper Commander was $225 by itself, so I completely agree, Clinton. It's a great deal, but as I said, 2 months ago, I could have sold them for $800. So I don't buy these for the investment piece. I buy them because I think that they're either iconically very cool looking, or as I said, they have that nostalgic punch. It's funny. I bought that Shadow Trooper for the aesthetic purposes back in the day. It was when I first started collecting. I only had 2 pieces in my collection at that point. I had the DX12 Batman, and I had the Deadpool 2 figure. And I really wanted to get another Hot Toys, because you guys know how that feeling is. Once you, especially Chris, you'll feel this. I'm sure you'll feel this feeling. You get a Hot Toys in your collection, you immediately kind of want that next one. And I had now 2 in my collection. I was like, okay, I want more figures. How can I slip it in the apartment where my fiance at the time might think it's acceptable? And she had a very much a white, gray, black, and pink apartment aesthetic. And so I was like, I'm going to totally get a white trooper and a black trooper, because I can fit it in with the decorating style of the apartment and still get myself another 2 Hot Toys in the collection. Man, and it worked. It totally worked.
You're telling me you weren't a real fan of the 1979 Marvel comics of Star Wars. You're saying that didn't do much for you.
Not at the time, no.
Okay.
No, I just wanted it to match the apartment so I wouldn't get in trouble, and I was not disappointed, because it's an awesome figure to have at this point. But yeah, it was those 2 were my 3rd and 4th Hot Toys ever. Now I'm over 50 now, which is insane. But nice. And having said that, don't listen to my advice, people, because that relationship didn't last. So Maybe I did. Maybe it didn't work out as well as I thought it did. You never know.
At least he still has the Shadow Trooper.
There you go.
Yeah.
I still have the Shadow Trooper.
Yeah.
This also popped up,
lose
guys.
it in the
The
break.
gold. That's right. The gold. Yeah, can you imagine? I had to lose it in the divorce. You hate to see it. Yeah, you get white one, I'll get the black one. The gold clone trooper popped up this week, and honestly, for me, I will admit to everybody watching, and again, if you guys have been watching my show for a while, you'll already know this. I wasn't a huge like Clone Wars fan. I had a really hard time getting through it. In fact, I had a much easier time getting through Rebels. Really enjoyed Rebels overall, ultimately. And I've now got through the first 2 seasons of Clone Wars. Everybody tells me, it really picks up in the 3rd, and right up to the 7th, it's a roller coaster ride. So I kind of still want to stick to it and get through the rest of it. But I will say, like, for me, the Clone Troopers don't have the same impact on my nostalgic heart as like a classic looking Stormtrooper. Now, obviously, they are meant to be different. They're very different armor sets, and there are definitely just straight up clone collectors out there, which I think is awesome. I've never had an issue with repaints because Hot Toys is still a business. They're still in this game to make money. So, kind of like Pete hit on earlier with the past figure, and just kind of re-releasing. If you don't want it, don't buy it. You don't have to support these releases with your money because these are some of those, in my opinion, income drivers for Hot Toys. These are these little cash influxes that keep potentially some of the other figures coming our way. So I never have an issue with repaints when it comes to things like Clone Troopers, Stormtroopers, even Iron Men, really. If that's what drives us to be able to get potentially other figures that I want more. Have I seen some cool figures that are repaints in the past? Absolutely. There was like a porcelain looking Stormtrooper I had my eyes on years ago that I didn't buy because I was like, why do I want a porcelain Stormtrooper? It doesn't show up in canon anywhere, at least from my knowledge. And then that thing went, like, talk about investment, that thing went insane on the secondary market years ago. Because again, people like to collect troopers. They're fun, they're usually relatively affordable, and they look cool. The gold is probably my least favorite version of a repaint, though. I've never liked yellow gold in terms of a look for even jewelry. So for a figure, it's not for me. But this did pop up for the May the 4th week. And I think for the folks who are trooper collectors, it's kind of cool. So Chris, I'd be curious for you, do you have any connection to clone troopers themselves? Like, were you a big Clone Wars guy yourself? And do you like the idea of repaints, or do you feel like this is more gimmicky? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's more gimmicky. I'll like it, and I would not buy it. But then again, I have no Hot Toys, and I've pre-ordered one. But maybe if you had, like, I know they've been doing these sort of chrome ones for a long time. I think there's even like a Death Trooper that's like, it's almost like bronze chrome or something. I don't know. I'm sure some guys have like a lot of these. I think if you had only the metallic ones like on a shelf, that might look kind of awesome. But this doesn't do a lot for me, I must say. And I would be sort of hesitant to start getting into prequel Hot Toys of clones, just because how many are there already? Like 30, 40 of them, because of all the repaint potential in that line. And I mean, you see 2 different versions of clones on screen in the movies, basically, not 40. So like, I feel like, but stuff like the plain version 1 of the clone, like you see on here on the left, I feel like that is something in the white armor that should be on like a permanent rotation at Hot Toys. Like, forget the reissue thing. It's just like, there's no edition number.
Something that's
always
always in stock.
Why shouldn't it be? Make it like $200.
Yeah.
Keep it out forever.
I said the exact same thing about the white trooper that came out for Return of the Jedi a week ago or so.
Yeah.
Like, it should be something that is just always available to buy, I think.
Completely agree. And just think about like the fact that it comes with these 2 helmets here. Think about the restraint it took. Like, the early 2000s were just a different time. You're telling me they didn't change the armor whatsoever other than the helmet? Imagine the design restraint involved in that. You don't get that in modern films. You got to take everything to the drawing board every single time. Cap's armor is different in every movie. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? But this. I mean, I think it would look cool if you're sort of working on a run of those troopers, but it's definitely not for me.
No, I think that makes sense. I do love that they gave us both looks for the helmet. I think that that's definitely a win for this figure. Because whether it's phase 1 or phase 2, people are always going to have an opinion as to what one to them is more of an iconic look. And to me, if maybe, like, I could see this being for somebody who isn't even necessarily a 6-scale collector, but maybe really like Star Wars or maybe really like Clone Wars. And they're like, this could be like almost like a trophy piece in your office, right? Like a gold trophy piece. I could see that potentially, or as I said, the people who just love to collect different versions of troopers. But Pete, to me, like when I see repaints, while I don't have a problem with them, because again, I understand the income potential and those little cash influxes for companies like Hot Toys, it does feel a little bit like gimmicky to me as well, similar to what like collecting pops is like. I think pops are really cool, but you can go in and get like a rainbow version of whatever character, or gold version, or porcelain looks, and all the different types of looks for pops. Does this put Hot Toys in kind of a similar category? Do you think it actually diminishes the quality feel of a Hot Toy, or again, is this just really for a very specific collector?
My comment in the private chat was yuck. I hate this. I don't understand who's buying. If, no disrespect to anyone that on the panel or in the chat that's bought
tough, right?
a chrome trooper, or like you talked about the porcelain. I see the artistry in it, but to me, it seems ridiculous. I think to me, I'm not a big clone fan anyway. I don't own any, but I'm collecting iconic scenes from movies that I love, and this thing has never appeared in anything, as far as I understand, in this guide
yet.
Either on screen, in a book, in a comic. I don't understand it at all. I have no problem with them doing it. I mean, their business, they do what they like, and if these things sell, then why not? But I don't know. I don't really have anything to say because I don't understand who's buying them. But yeah, each to their own.
Some people are. It looks like, Ryan Deans,
Yeah.
for example, is somebody that's interested in seeing all the different types of chrome looks together, the gold, the silver,
Yeah.
the black chrome. Like that could
like
be an awesome display.
Exactly. Like, I imagine a shelf where it's like, here's like all the Imperial Trooper armors in like an idealized form. Like, that's cool to me. If you actually got every single one of these and you sort of line them up in a sort of iterative way, like going from the Republic to the Empire, like that might be cool. I could see that working if you actually had all of them and they were sort of on one long row together. But aside from that, it's a pass for me for sure.
The other thing that I'll be curious to see, Pete, because like again, you do pose a good question, like how many people are actually collecting these in terms of it? Because while people agree that it is kind of gimmicky, some people say they're interested in it. But then we did see the cancellation on that Sokovian Iron Man there. Not Sokovian. Was it Sokovian? Yeah, Sokovian Iron Man and Flash figure a couple weeks ago. First time I'd ever seen Hot Toys cancel figures in the past.
Yeah.
I'll be curious if maybe they'll start floating more our way in the future, knowing that they may cancel them if they don't get the numbers, or if those were kind of just one-offs. Like, I'd be curious to see how that goes, right?
Jonathan
because
Majors
again, I hope not, because I actually have that figure on order still.
I wish that they could. I wish they could operate that way, but something tells me the way the approval process with Disney works, they can't just like, here's like 10 potential figures and maybe we'll make some of them if the sales are good enough. They have to jump through 40 hoops for each one. But I wish it worked that way, because we'd get some awesome stuff, because they would actually respond to the demands.
But then to see two figures fall off, though, as I said, after they've gone through all of that process, like you mentioned, is still kind of concerning, because it's like, how did it get through all of those channels just to not see the light of day? Like that's crazy. Hard to know. It's a tough question to pose. Very tough question to pose. And Pete, I like what you mentioned, the New Hope figure line, because at the same time, I keep seeing Princess Leia from A New Hope floating around my Facebook marketplaces. And by the way, at least if you're in Canada, Facebook Marketplace is a great place to look for secondhand figures because it's amazing some of the deals you'll find on there.
Dude, there's a guy who has the Death Watch Mandalorian on there for 200 Canadian. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's the cheapest Hot Toys I've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw a brand new in-box Hellboy figure on there yesterday for $180 Canadian, and I'm like, I didn't even love that movie that much, but it's an awesome figure. And I'm like, for $180, like I feel like I'm stealing it from the guy, but at the same time, it's like, do I need to, like, you gotta, sometimes as a collector, you gotta be like, okay, no, you don't need it. You didn't buy it to begin with. How badly did you want it? Like, don't spend the money.
There it is.
But I do kind of want that new Leia, and I would, I know you were saying you have reservations around them making a New Hope line, but I do think that they're going to go back to that line. I do have the Farm Boy Luke, and while I love that figure, it does need an update, in my opinion. I think most of that line could really benefit from an update. So as long as they don't straight reissue it and they actually 2.0 them, then I think I would be okay with it. But don't just straight reissue it. I think that burns me a little bit.
Yeah, I think. I think we'd see. I mean, obviously the head sculpts, I think, is the main thing that needs an update on those, and also I can imagine that they'll be using stuff on the boots because I know it's a very common problem with hand in particular with the pleather on the boots flaking because obviously you've got a lot of movement in those ankles, so they go with real leather, I think, on those boots.
That's fair. It's interesting here. Irandine says, ironically, it was the gold Stormtrooper that brought me into Hot Toys collecting. I loved how weird it looked. It was the only thing that was available from Hot Toys in 6 scale. Before then, I was collecting 1/12 scale. So, again, like, Hot Toys is just kind of casting a wide net out there to people's interests. Even one of the first figures you showed us today, Chris, was that carded Boba Fett figure with the kind of the rainbow color scheme, and while that was a prototype, I get it, like there was a whole reason behind that. That was not a gimmick specifically.
Well, it's a gimmick because it's not like they're trying. It's so funny that even exists. Like, I still got it right here. Like, you got to think about how niche the idea of this is. Like, they know that vintage Star Wars collectors love internal inner prototypes, so they're like, let's make a whole line of production 3 3/4 figures that look like prototypes. Like, have you ever heard a more inside baseball thing in your life? It's amazing that even exists.
But Hot Toys did give us that blue and yellow one all those years ago of the Boba Fett, right? I think that was the prototype back then as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Blue and yellow.
That's the one from the
holiday
special. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little different.
That goes for a lot of money at the moment, that one.
Yeah, but these prototype 3 3/4 are supposed to look like prototype toys. Like, it's a toy deep cut, not even a Star Wars deep cut. It's so weird that it exists.
Absolutely.
Shouldn't exist.
I was about to say they look like the inside of a Lego Technic build.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
I mean, it's
pink
just odd,
and purple and like, why? Are those colors cheaper to make than the blacks and the grays?
It's funny you say. I mean, I'll tell you the real reason is when they test out a new mold, they just use whatever plastic they already have running on a line, and that's why there's these odd prototypes that have weird colors. But I mean, they'd never be one color each limb like this. Like, they'd be like 2 colors maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's crazy. But it's just funny that it's like we finally reached the point where the narrative around collecting is integrated into the property itself. You know what I mean? Like, this is a figure collecting thing that has made its way into the actual commercially released product, which is so weird to me. But anyways,
interesting takes, and it honestly brings me into my last couple of slides here of the show today, and then I want to talk to you, Chris, about what you wanted to bring to the show today as well. So stay tuned there, guys. Don't leave us, because these are cause babies, and while I am not a cause baby Hot Toys collector by any stretch of the imagination, today is May the 5th, or Revenge of the 5th. I think the May 4th Hot Toys hype is probably coming up to an end here now. I don't know if we're going to see too much more. But one of the trends that I have noticed over the years is, if you see it in cause baby form, I actually feel like there's a pretty good chance you're going to see it in 6 scale form. And here, of course, we get a chance to see a Sauvage Press, which I think for a lot of people they would love to see in 6 scale version. We have a Stormtrooper Graphite version, which again, going kind of those repainted line, I could 100% see them doing a repaint of a Graphite version. Like, it seems like easy money for them at this point. As well as a blue Dark Side of the Force Kylo Ren, and I want to call him a Canadian Darth Vader, because to me that 1000% looks like Canadian color painting there. But Power of the Dark Side, Cause Baby Vader as well. So, question for you, Pete. You've been again in the game for a long time. Have you noticed a trend of Cause Babies often becoming kind of a 6-scale collectible? And if so, of these that I just showed, do any of these stand out to you as something that you'd be interested in picking up if they put it in 6-scale?
I can't think of any specifically. I know that this always comes around, when they do this with Cos Babies, and I think in general it's more no than yes. I think there probably might be one or two that have gone through, but I think they made Cos Babies of I might be wrong, but they did the Penguin, didn't they, in the Batmobile? From Batman Returns,
that's true.
Things like that, and they haven't made a Penguin. I'm not sure if they did a Catwoman. So I think in general, no. But I could see the Savage Opress, because seeing some of the stranger announcements we've had this week, then absolutely I can't see that one. It's got a good chance. I think that could be one. The others, no, I'm not really interested in. Again, it's why they're not anything that was seen on screen for me. I guess the Vader is meant to be one of these kind of where the the red of magma or something's reflecting on his armor.
Power of the Dark Side is the name of their sort of promotion, where they're showing all these 1/6 Dark Side characters, right? Yeah,
it is. Yeah, yeah, but I'm I'm certainly not interested in collecting these. Yeah, maybe the Savage, because I think a lot of people. Again, I don't have any affiliation to that character, but I know, like, particularly Ian, like, he loves that character. He'd probably be be excited to have one of those released. But yeah, quite possible, I think.
Absolutely. Then Blue Sky for you, Chris, since you are, of course, such a large Star Wars fan. Blue Sky, what would you want to see as a 6-scale release? Whether it's any of these Cos Babies in 6-scale, or is there a character that, from your recollection or knowledge, at least at this point, that Hot Toys either hasn't done in a while or hasn't done at all, that you would really like to see come to 6-scale?
So many. First of all, real quick on Sauvage Opress here. I feel like this is one of those fork in the roads for Hot Toys, because if they do him right, he's about twice the size of a normal man.
Crazy.
So it's like it's a new body. He's a big boy in the Clone Wars cartoon. So if they do him right, like when he first shows up on the battlefield in the Clone Wars, they're like, "Is that freaking Darth Maul? I thought we killed that guy." Like, he's freaking them out. He's like roided out. He's like Bane. He's killing Jedi on the field. Damn. And like, they're like, "What's going on with that guy?" He's huge, right? And like, it's a great moment, but like, he's really like hulked out. So it's like, either they put him on an old body and he's not accurate, or they do it from the ground up and he might not be popular enough to justify that. So I don't know what they sort of have on standby for like big characters. Maybe they have the hardware in place to do something like that. But he's definitely like 40% bigger than a normal dude. Okay. And it's kind of like this Cos Baby doesn't really deliver that point. But
not at all, actually. Not even close.
No. Yeah, so there's that, and but I mean, the Dark Empire Luke really opens the floodgates. And like the Graphite Trooper. That's funny. Is graphite a thing in Star Wars canon? Because the carbonized collection from TVC was painted with graphite as well. But I don't know what the deal with that is. But if they're opening the floodgates to the expanded universe, what they call Legends, but it's really called the expanded universe for us Disney deniers. If they open the floodgates to that, I mean, are you kidding me? I would pay $1,000 for a Kyle Katarn Hot Toys. Like, I just would. I like you can't. That was so formative to me in my appreciation of the franchise. You know what I mean? There's no way to convey it. That's 4 games that I just destroyed, and they would be printing money if they did something like that, because I know there's, what are the runs they're doing on these? Like the limited ones are like 2,500, 3,500. Yeah. There's no problem selling 5,000 Kyle Katarins. Are you kidding me? There's enough of me out there. Just do it. But
it's interesting you mentioned that too, because there is definitely like the 6 scale kind of community, and then there's very much that Star Wars community, right? And like the Star Wars community, I think you're 100% right. They would go after that like crazy, and it leads into the 6 scale, of course, because that's where we can purchase some of those loves of our lives, right? So
totally. And I mean, I don't know, I've never seen a Cosbaby in person. I assume they're comparable in size to a Funko Pop.
Something similar, I think.
They look a lot better than Funko Pops. So they've got that going for them. There must be 1 or 2 extra paint apps than is allowed for the average Funko Pop. I don't know. It's something about it looks more expensive than a Funko Pop.
It does look
they're a lot more expensive, I guess.
But they're a lot
I
more
thought that much
expensive.
they are, but yeah.
Quick shout out to friend of the channel here, Bob Dillon, says, just wanted to say hello to the sweetest Canadian collector I know, and the other blokes seem nice too.
Hey, I'm Canadian
Good to see
too.
you, buddy.
I'm not nice though.
I think he was talking about you, Chris.
I think he was talking about Chris. I'm kind of a dick. You hate to see it.
Well, you're definitely nicer than me.
I don't know about it. I don't know about that. We got Brendan Altman in the chat as well. Says I could see more Black Series going 6 scale. Just all the character range, 100%. I think if the desire, the demand is there, then yeah, absolutely. New name in the chat I haven't seen before. 03 Mills says needs a Saul Guerrera. I'd love to see that character.
He's on the Hot Toys never released list, isn't he? He was teased way back. He's on that page of death.
I don't think the Black Series, like the 112 Black Series Saw Gerrera, I don't think that did terribly well, because I'm sorry to say it, guys, I still see him at Toys R Us for about $10 Canadian. So I don't think there's a lot of hype around Saw Gerrera.
Hard to know, right? And then just what you were mentioning about Savage there. People are kind of speculating or asking what size body could be used then, because you were saying it might be a new body, but we have seen larger bodies such as like the Wrecker body from Bad Batch, or the Heavy Mando body, even Venom. I think Venom is probably too big based on your description there. It sounds like it's probably more in that Heavy Mando.
I mean, the head's the same size. The human skull doesn't vary that much, you know what I mean? But he's, he hits the gym.
100%. But then I think we do, like Brandon here says, Zeb body will probably be first before Savage. I think we need a Zeb because he's a very outstanding missing character from the Rebels TV series, but he didn't show up in Ahsoka, right? So, which I thought was a very strange omission.
Didn't he? He did,
no,
right?
It was in season 3 of Mando, I think. He was at the bar, but he wasn't in Ahsoka, which doesn't make sense to me.
They blur together too much, but he's got a job somewhere. He was expensive animation. They only had 1 scene with him. What can you do?
Absolutely. So that's it. Adrian here says, can we get some new DC figure news? Totally agree. While I love Star Wars, he says I'm tired of this Star Wars news. Let's see on the 6 scale figures. It's a very divided community because, again, so many people in Hot Toys are here for either Marvel, DC, or Star Wars, or kind of a combination of both. I like all of the franchises, but yeah, if you take a look at the figures that have released and announced this year, or I should say more of the announcements, it is very, very weighted on the Star Wars side this year. So it'll be curious to see how the year pans out. Last year we had over 80 releases, which is impressive amount from Hot Toys.
That Joker sequel is just not setting the world on fire, guys. Wait for when that new Superman comes out, it'll be a different story.
Yeah, well, that's it for sure, but that's probably that's 2025, so that's still a little ways away, I think, Adrian. If anything, I'm expecting we're going to get freaking absolutely everything that comes from Deadpool 3. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw like a wild amount of figures that come from that one there. But guys, I want to share one last thing. Our esteemed panelist and Chris today brought this to my attention, and I'm going to put the link in the chat there as well. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about this, what we're looking at here?
Yeah, all right. Well, to cut to the chase here, the the guy who literally designed all of the iconic weapons from Star Wars, the Stormtrooper rifle, Chewbacca's bowcaster, the Graflex, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, all that stuff. He was a set decorator on the original Star Wars. He was second unit director on Return of the Jedi, and he was second unit director on The Phantom Menace. And his name's Roger Christian. And me and some friends got a chance to talk to him for an hour about what his experience was like working on The Phantom Menace, since we're hitting the 25th anniversary of that. And if you check out this podcast, I'm guessing the link's in the chat there. But we had a great time talking to him for an hour, and we get some novel stories from the set of The Phantom Menace. And this guy's a legend. Like, he designed all the weapons that are coming out with every one of these Hot Toys you guys are buying. Like, he's like, you know what I mean? Like, he took World War II guns and he put some T-strip on them, and he took a Graflex camera flash and made that the iconic Luke Skywalker lightsaber. This guy's a living legend. I'm lucky enough that he lives here in Toronto, local to me. So we get him out at some local events and stuff, and we spent an hour talking to him, and it was beautiful. And we got some awesome stories from the set of The Phantom Menace. So I would appreciate it if you guys would check that out.
Absolutely, dude. That sounds really, really cool. I'm posting the link here in the chat, guys. I'm going to post it a couple times just so it's easy to find. Definitely go over and give that a listen and a like, please, for me. That would be really appreciated. Chris does put a lot of time into those interviews. They're really, really well done. And honestly, like you said, who wouldn't want to hear from the guy who actually came up with some of this stuff? Like, that's really cool.
Spoiler alert. Do you guys know who Kenny Baker is? Pete knows who Kenny Baker is.
I do not.
Kenny Baker is the gentleman who was inside of R2-D2 in the original trilogy. And there's a real funny story regarding Kenny Baker's association with the Phantom Menace, and the fact that he may or may not have even gone inside R2-D2 even once for the whole movie, yet he's on the poster and in the credits and the first 5 names. But he may not have gone into R2-D2 even once in that whole movie. Wild. But he made a high credit, and he was partying the whole time, hanging out in Tunisia. There's some great novel stories. I really would appreciate it if you guys would check it out. Especially if you like behind the scenes film production type stuff. That's
cool. I mean, he absolutely deserves it. Even if he wasn't in there, he made R2-D2. I mean, all of the little nuances and the stuff, he acted shit out of that.
I'm not trying to say that, but but especially in the early films, like the radio control technology just wasn't there, right? And Kenny Baker's a legend. Like, if you talk to guys who've been to Star Wars Celebration over the years, that guy was like getting tanked and partying with the vintage Star Wars collectors like 20 years ago. He's a legend. But rest in peace. Listen, like, Roger Christian's an Academy Award-winning art director. Like, this, you don't understand how amazing it was for me to talk to this guy. The fact that he's local, the fact that he gives us the time of day, is amazing. And he's got some great insight. And especially if you just want crazy stories about George Lucas and Rick McCallum on the set of The Phantom Menace, it's a good time.
Heck yeah, dude. Go over, give this a follow on Spotify, a listen. I think typically week over week we have somewhere between 700 and 1,000 listeners of Let's Get Nuts. So thank you guys for always watching on the replay. Let's support each other, as well as Chris and Pete here on the panel, like they support me with my show. It would definitely be appreciated. Guys, let's check in with our channel members to say thank you. To wrap up today, we've got Alvin J, Collecting Weekly, Money Mendez, 6 Scale Mafia, Katera, Feezy's Figures, King Dingaling, Sith Scale Collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Canon, 1/6 Figure Focus, SpongeBob, Square Balls, The Empire Strikes, Peter Cass, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, 14 Wellington, Jose G. Hernandez, 12-inch Moose Stream, Collection Obsession, Blurred Dad Life, Danny Spotchka, Rachel Miller, Honest Hansel, Action in the Box, Figurecraft, Neilerific, Action Figure Academy, Don Maton, Kenneth Jacobson, Cylon, Adrian Cervantes, and Christian Cooper. Thank you so much for being channel members here. And thank you to everybody watching us even still today at the end of the show. If you're interested in becoming a Tough Nut member, I will put the link in the chat there for you as well. Anything that we put in there in terms of dollars that come from the members go back towards members for other figure giveaways, sideshow gift cards, or all of the above. Holy cow. Bob Dylan just gifted 10 Ben Thomas Show memberships. Thank you so much for that generosity, Bob. I appreciate you, good sir. Let's give Bob definitely a big thank you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. That's very, very generous of you, buddy. I appreciate you. And you're making me do the work. Now I got to get all those names on the slides here. So you'll love to see it. I got 10 more names to read next week when we're back on Sunday. Thank you so much, good sir. In terms of our membership there, of course, these are all of our emojis that can pop up in the chat here when you're with us live on Let's Get Nuts. My favorite, I still think at this point, is the nut button or the nut buster. But I also wanted to shout out that every week I update that slide to show what progression or stage you guys are at. Still, I think my favorite is the Live Long and Nut or the Dark Nut, but all of them are kind of fun. Most people are getting into that Dark Nut territory now, so it'll be fun to see who gets into the next couple tiers there for sure. But if you're interested, feel free to join. If not, just thank you for the support and watching the show week over week. Pete, is there anything coming up on Only Fools and Collecting with Collecting Weekly that you wanted to highlight there coming up, good sir?
Yeah, we're on this Thursday, 8:30 p.m. UK time, so sometime in the afternoon for you guys. It'd be great if you could join us live. If not, catch the replay. Yeah, we're it's episode 111, and yeah, it's very it's basically going to be all Star Wars as well. So we'll talk about some of the stuff that we just talked about tonight and bits and pieces like that. So you know, it's a big weekend for Star Wars, and yeah, we'll just be chatting about the releases that or the announcements from this week.
Heck yeah, dude. Always a pleasure having you back here, especially if you're in the dark. I just love seeing your face and getting all the things, so thank you for that. I say
well,
week over week every...
Yeah, next time I'm on, I'll have, you know, it will start looking a bit
again.
Normal. Yeah, well, yeah,
Hell
possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Hell yeah. I say it week over week. If you haven't seen Only Fools and Collecting over on the Collecting Weekly channel there, they do have their own section. Make sure you go and check it out. One of my favorite parts about these guys is their accents. The British guys, you know, if something is shit, they're going to tell you it's shit, and I love that. Always an honest take from these boys, and always a really good watch, so make sure you guys give them some support.
Thanks, buddy.
So thanks again for being here, Pete. We appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah,
Chris, anything else coming up that you wanted to highlight for everybody?
Yeah, just listen to Small Talk on Collecting Weekly too. You know, like we appreciate some live viewers. We got some decent ones, but you know, if you want your 1/12 fix on the CW channel, definitely check out Small Talk. We're every other Thursday, and I think we're on this Thursday as well.
You are. Yeah, we're doubling up because you should have been last week.
Okay.
And I messaged Ian, and he was, I didn't know we were on this week. So we are the same day as you guys. Yeah, but obviously several
double
hours
the
before.
content. Yeah.
It's gonna be a double event. Great day for the listeners.
Yeah, I didn't even realize how many Collecting Weekly boys we have really technically with us today, because we're all part of Collecting Weekly in some way or another. Yeah. And then, of course, thank you so much, Chris, for being here. Your knowledge on Star Wars today was absolutely pinnacle. It really helped the show be what it was today, so thank you so much for popping in. You're welcome anytime, by the way. If there's ever a slot, don't feel like you have to wait for it to be a slow week. If you can make it, throw up your hand. I'd love to have you back anytime.
Listen, it's always fun, and you know, it's very it's a real uncensored experience, but you know, sure. Today is a special day to talk about why Dark Empire is so much better than the sequel trilogy, so I was happy to be here, guys.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Again, thank you to my panelists. Thank you to everybody who watched on the show today. If you're already here, you're already watching the Ben Thomas Show, but if you're just tuning in for the first time, please go over and subscribe. We're now on the path to 5,000 subscribers, which is amazing. I definitely appreciate you guys. But of course, I love your faces. Pete, I would say, once again, we got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.
Where's I go? What do I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. It's gone. It's all gone.